the low of 51. Tomorrow, isolated showers, breezy with a high of 64 at the lakefront, 73 inland. For Sunday, Mother's Day, scattered showers with a chance of thunderstorms, breezy with a high of 58. On Monday, mostly sunny, a high of 68 at the lake, 72 inland. Tuesday, mostly sunny with a chance of showers later on, a high of 68 at the lakefront, 75 inland. Right now in Madison, it's 63, Green Bay 68, Waukesha 64, and in Milwaukee, 59 degrees. I'm Debbie Lazaga, Sighting Unlimited, WTMJ News Time, 9:09.
Breaking down the biggest stories, talking about what really matters, and bringing you the biggest forum to let your voice be heard. Now, broadcasting live from the Annex Wealth Management Studios at the Avenue, here's Steve Scaffidi.
And good morning, everybody. Welcome. I show up one day a week.
Must be nice.
Must be nice.
There's another guy in town that does that, but he's got that in his contract. I was on vacation. I'm hearing myself in my headphones. It's very distracting, but we'll work it out. All right, gentlemen, great to see you. As always, Joe Zapecki.
Happy Friday.
Bill McCoshen. Joe was actually in my seats, seats.
I think the listeners have had enough of me this week.
Yeah? Have they had enough? So what were your top topics? What were you talking about?
Oh, we talked about all kinds of stuff. The fun stuff was we talked about going to the movies. We talked a little NBA basketball. We also talked about climate change.
Oh, that must have been a hot topic.
Got some engagement, got some calls.
That was great. Good.
In the wake of the twin tragedies in Texas over the weekend, we, of course, talked about gun violence, some common sense, widely supported reforms. Mm-hmm. And some people agreed and some people disagreed, and that's what this place is for.
Were my listeners thoughtful?
They were always respectful.
That's good.
Free speech. Who knew?
Yeah. And Bill's going to actually start doing some stuff. Well, if we can contractually work this all out.
Yeah, right?
His price tag.
His people, walking through the buildings, sort of seeing what's here for him. But
I'm kind of a big deal. So
I know you are, because I see your face plastered all over media across the state of Wisconsin and beyond. So, gentlemen, while I was gone, and I'm going to get to some of the personal stuff, I'll mix it in, because I had a great tour of Washington, D.C., and we did some really fun stuff. Some of it which actually pertains to the topic at hand. So Donald Trump shows up on CNN, a town hall hosted by Caitlin Collins. I didn't see it live, but I heard about it from a lot of people, just casual conversations when they found out I did a radio show, which I was sharing with everybody, because you got to tell people what you do. They all want.
Who's this guy? He looks important. Yeah. What do you do, sir?
Yeah. No, it wasn't that. Just everybody, when you're at a blackjack table, everyone wants to know what you do. Where you from? What do you do?
I'm sorry, blackjack table?
I thought you were in D.C.
Yeah,
Did you go to a casino out there?
We stayed at the MGM Casino in D.C.
Ran up to Jersey or something.
No, at National Harbor.
I did not know that.
Oh, gorgeous facility, gorgeous. But let's set that aside. So Donald
Does
Trump,
that count for one of your Vegas trips this year?
I've got 3 more Vegas trips planned, so I guess. All right, thanks for the cash register. All right, so let's get your takes on what we saw. I watched it later. I certainly read a lot about people's takes on it. Let's start with you, Joe. You're the opposition party.
Yeah, listen, I said this earlier in the week on the program. I'm not one of these mad at CNN guys. I think it is really important that the American people see just how far down the rabbit hole former President Trump has gone. That was on full display. People need to see this guy. They haven't much, actually, in the last couple of years. He's been sort of a specter lurking out there. And I think it was a reminder to independents and to Democrats of what is at stake in the presidential election and how far gone the far right end, the Republican primary voting base, has gone. Because as troubling as what former President Trump said, he'll pardon January 6th rioters. He doesn't think Ukraine needs our help. I'm not going to filibuster here, but as troubling as all of what he had to say was, the reaction from people in the audience was as concerning. Sexual assault is not a laughing matter, and the fact that the people in that room, many of whom presumably have daughters, think that that's funny. It's your party, Bill. You guys got some work to do.
So a little bit of context. The ratings are out. He drew 3.3 million viewers. Now, in context, there were 155 million voters in 2020. Donald Trump got 71 million of those. That's about 2% watch this show. So it's better than speaking to 600 people in Rothschild, but it's it's still 2% of all voters watch that. Politics is all about addition. I don't think he added any voters. If you love Donald Trump, you still love him. If you hated Donald Trump, you still hate him. I don't know that any undecideds were watching that, and I certainly don't believe he added any votes to his column, which he's already at a 10 million vote deficit. So
it clarifies the choice, right? I mean, Republicans rightly have been jumping on the recent polling around President Biden's approval. He looks like a vulnerable incumbent. He does not look like a political juggernaut,
right,
which typically an incumbent president is. As I've joked about the last couple of weeks, the presidential race is, not a popularity contest. It's like fighting off a bear in the woods. You don't have to outrun the bear. You just got to outrun the other guy.
Right.
And the fact that, 3 million Americans, many of whom talk to other millions of Americans, now saw, in stark relief what the choice is going to be, because he's going to be the Republican nominee, and we'll get to that. But I just, that show, Who beats him on your side? Nobody.
Who put the audience together? Because I understand.
CNN.
So why was it a?
But I think it was an agreement with Trump. On
I'm sure.
Who the people were.
Yeah, you kind of
pro-Trump
negotiate
audience.
that kind of thing.
Yeah.
Why? Why is that something a news network should do?
Well, I was going to put this in my grab bag, but I think CNN had their Bud Light moment this week. They may have tanked the network. I mean, the pundit class on the left is up in arms about them giving Donald Trump an hour of free media nationwide. And the New York Times, the Washington Post, the L.A. Times are all panning this thing as a massive mistake. CNN's trying to move a little bit towards the center. I think they may have lost the left, which leaves nothing left for them as a news organization. So it may have been their Bud Light moment where it was the one thing that sort of killed the network.
Are you predicting that Anheuser-Busch is doomed to the dustbin of history?
I'm predicting Bud Light's got a long road to come back. Yes, I am.
More people drink Bud Light in this country every day than watch CNN. CNN usually gets about 400,000 viewers a night. They had 3.3 million. From a business standpoint, good night for them.
Yeah, when
From
the
standpoint
CEO's
of
got to apologize to the employees the next day.
So are you saying that Trump wouldn't have agreed unless he had that audience to do the CNN?
I think it was part of the deal. Is he got to?
So they basically just said, all right, fine.
He's got to win a primary. Those were primary voters. Again, like we were talking about this a little bit beforehand. This is, if you go back in history, when there is a primary campaign that you have to win, the audience for these things is a primary voting audience.
I agree with that.
And it's just more awkward when it's a former president, which we've never had a former president running again in the modern era.
Let me just give you a quick connection to this story, why I think these things matter. I was in Washington, D.C., at National Portrait Gallery, and there's tons of kids. It's school trip time, school break. And they are many of these, mostly young men. I don't know if I saw a young woman wearing them. Let's Go Brandon bucket hats. Walking through Smithsonian's, walking through Arlington National Cemetery. That's why, I'm going to give you a chance to think about it during the break. That's why this stuff matters. And I understand schools have a lot of challenges. They have to be really careful with the restricting some of the things kids can wear. But part of me, when I'm watching this unfold in front of me, is this is not appropriate for kids to be wearing that kind of stuff in a place as revered as I think Washington, D.C. is. Our centerpiece, political foundations of our country, all of our great founding fathers. And then this is what we're going to do to that history. Didn't like it. Quick break.
This is the Steve Scaffidi Show on WTMJ.
Hey, I'm John Merkier.
And I'm Sandy Maggs.
Great news for fans of Wisconsin's afternoon news.
You can now hear every episode of the show across the podcast universe.
That's right. You'll never have to miss a single interview, story, or fun conversation. It's $500 million in tax money in Illinois. They do not care about that. Robin Voss has said this will not be an economic argument. I don't care if we literally get $1 trillion.
Find us on Apple Podcasts, Spotify, or wherever you get your podcasts.
Presented by Geis Garage Doors. Don't think twice. Call Geis.
Hey, this is WTMJ Steve Scaffidi for Educators Credit Union. I'm a brand new member. Absolutely love Educators. On behalf of all of Educators Credit Union, they would like to express their sincere gratitude to all the public safety professionals. Despite the obstacles you face every day, you continue to make the selfish decision to show up and serve local communities. The care, courage, and commitment it takes does not go unnoticed. Thank you for taking the time away from your family to protect, support, and care for ours. Thank you for all that you do.
At the United States Postal Service, we're reinventing our network to help keep your business moving. With new shipping options to deliver better value, greater flexibility to conveniently reach your customers, more confident shipping with new informed delivery features, and new electric vehicles for a cleaner, brighter future. Fast, reliable, perfectly orchestrated. The United States Postal Service, delivering for America. Learn more at USPS.com/moving forward.
Psst. Hey, Mark, remember, getting help from Progressive is so easy. You can use the mobile app, chat with us online, or call us.
And you pick now to tell me.
I couldn't miss Little Grace's ballet recital. Oh, thanks for inviting me, by the way.
Did I?
Because you know I'm always here for you.
Yeah. I can use the mobile app if I need help. Sorry, you're in my wife's seat, though?
Oh, yeah, I gotta go anyway. Tell Grace she nailed her chassé.
Get the help you need from Progressive with our mobile app, online chat, or over the phone. Progressive Casualty Insurance Company, affiliates, and other insurers.
Trust the auto experts at Blaine's Farm and Fleet. You know us for tires and batteries, trust and care, offering unbeatable deals on name brand automotive supplies and service. Like all Cooper or Goodyear tires, buy 3, get 1 free. 10% off all Fram oil filters. Rewards members save 15%. And 5-quart jugs of Citgo SuperGuard full synthetic motor oil, $21.99 after mail-in rebate. Rewards members save an extra $2. Tires and batteries, trust and care. A Blaine's Farm and Fleet promise since 1955.
Now, more of the Steve Scaffidi Show on WTMJ.
When they went to the Capitol and they were breaking into the Capitol, smashing windows, injuring police officers, why did it take you 3 hours to tell them to go home?
I don't believe it did. Oh, let me pull it out. I have to pull it out. So if you look at, on January 5th, the day before, I said, please support our Capitol Police and law enforcement. They are truly on the side of our country. Stay peaceful. Stay peaceful. This was the day before. If you look, January 6th, this is before 2:30. I am asking for everyone at the U.S. Capitol to remain peaceful. This is right after, as it was happening. But what happened is they took it down. I don't know why. I think they took it down because it was so good. They didn't like it being up there. I am asking, and we didn't know until I got it back, because now I have 90 million people waiting for me to go back, but I'm on truth, and I'm staying on truth. Listen, I am asking for everyone at the U.S. Capitol to remain peaceful. No violation. We want no violation. We want no violence. Remember, we are the party of law and order. Respect the law and our great men and women in blue. Thank you. That was at 2:30.
Somewhat ironic comment from the former President of the United States. Bill, when you hear stuff like this, it's just this meandering, this nonsensical answer to questions that most Americans should care about. What was the president doing on that day when the nation's capital was being attacked? I was in the Capitol building on Tuesday, and I was imagining what that must have felt like for the people that were there, the electeds.
Well, they
staff.
were pretty nervous. Listen, I think you could probably easily fact check the timing of that tweet if it did happen. I was watching that, and I was horrified by what I was seeing. I'm like, holy smokes, this has to end. I mean, there are some countervailing facts here, or alternative facts, as Kellyanne Conway once said. For example, Congressman Mike Gallagher put out a tweet saying, President, you need to do something about this. Speaker McCarthy, then Minority Leader McCarthy, put out a statement saying, you need to do something about this. So I'm not sure Donald Trump's timing on this or the events of that day are on the money. It was a day that I think all of us regret, and it can't happen again.
Two quick things on this. That person you just heard rambling barely coherently would go on to say during Wednesday's event that he is inclined to pardon the rioters from January 6th, which now include people like the Proud Boys, for seditious conspiracy.
Many, I think he said, in fairness. Not all.
He referred to the law enforcement officer who, defending the speaker's gallery, had to fire at a protester after warning her to stop, referred to that law enforcement officer as a thug. Okay, if you're the party of law and order, why are you referring to cops as thugs? Why are you appealing to the QAnon crazy crowd?
That gets him through the primary. That's the answer. I mean, none of what he said will play in a general election, in my opinion.
But it doesn't seem like Republicans, some, care about that. you're serious, I'm serious. I don't want this person to be my candidate. As I told an elected representative in Congress this week, this is not the choice I want. As a Republican, I want somebody that I can actually vote for and respect my own votes. That's why this stuff matters.
Well, I think we need a legitimate alternative. And to date, there's a notion of a legitimate alternative in Ron DeSantis, but it doesn't exist yet, right? He hasn't announced. I think they're making a tactical mistake by waiting so long to get into this race. I'm told he's going to get in the first week of June. If I were him, I'd get in next week. His legislative session's over. I got to hear him speak. I think we'll have a longer segment on this. But the guy's list of accomplishments was off the charts, literally off the charts.
Burst your bubble, but it ain't going to happen. The Republican Party, by excusing former President Trump's actions at every turn for the last 8 years, have now created a Frankenstein monster that they can't figure out how to go after. By excusing everything from going back to starting with Hollywood, the Hollywood Act or Access Hollywood tape. Excuse that. Then they excused the hiring of a national security threat in former Lieutenant General Michael Flynn. It was excused behavior after excused behavior. And now, 8 years later, imagine the shock of people like me that the voters on the Republican side have been conditioned to believe that this gentleman can do no wrong.
I raised the issue before of young people, young boys, young men who are wearing Let's Go Brandon hats in the most revered pieces of our nation's capital. Rooms that, frankly, are, in my opinion, are disrespected by a hat like that. I understand we have freedoms. Yes, you can say what you want to say. And unless you're threatening violence, I guess you can always do that. But it just seemed inappropriate to me.
It is inappropriate. But
this is the effect of this stuff. This is why it frustrates me so much, because it doesn't just affect people like me and Bill. It affects the kids who are going to be future leaders, hopefully, business leaders, elected officials, just members of our community who are infected by this nonsense, which replaces actual meaningful work on all the things that I think most of us care about. Yeah. That's why I get frustrated.
But people didn't like Hillary Clinton, so here we are.
Oh, God. Why did you have to put that?
You could have had her, you had her emails or this guy, and y'all made the choice. You bought the ticket, now you're on the ride.
That's a really good example for this reason. She is, I think, the second most polarizing political figure in American history, and Donald Trump's the first. Mm-hmm. Right? I think we need less of that. More doers and less talkers. More workers, less showmen. I mean, that's the, and to your point, Steve, I think kids ought to be taught to respect the system. And politics ebbs and flows. Sometimes Democrats are going to be in charge. Sometimes Republicans are going to be in charge, right? But elections are about the future. They're not about the past. If you watch CNN or watch the clips about it, it was all about the past.
Yep.
That's not a winner for Republicans. I want to win in 2024. I want a candidate that can do well, bring candidates a long down ticket for United States Senate or for Congress or for governor across the country. Donald Trump's proven not to be that guy.
It's just this constant barrage of nonsense. And I think, look, I understand the bullying aspect of why some people like it, because let's be honest, some people think bullies are great people. They respect the power and the aggressiveness. You see it in business. I saw it in the private sector. There's people that get away with this every day. Donald Trump is a manifestation of that. Oh, by the way, throw in the reality TV stuff. He lives in the now. This is what we do in this country. We throw garbage at each other, and we celebrate reality TV. Not the world I want to live in. And I want to say to people, there has to be something else. And for Republicans, I know I'm fired up on this bill, but I got to get it out of me.
Listen.
After being in Washington, D.C., I have an idea that we can actually bring this back. But that's not going to happen. I'm going to go to break here. Big finish.
Let me close with this.
All right.
Owning the libs is not an agenda.
Absolutely. Well said. Bill McCosh and Joseph Pecky, we apologize. We had some problems on the live stream. Apparently, Bill's wisdom is not being heard other than what comes through the other mic. So I know producer Brandon is working on that. We're getting a lot of text on it. So patience. If you're close enough, turn on the radio. Kind of an old-fashioned concept, but I still like it. Quick break.
This is the Steve Scaffidi Show on WTMJ.
Every hour.
We are following some breaking news this morning. Congressman George Santos is now in custody.
Every day.
St. Croix County Sheriff's Department grieving the loss of one of its deputies, Katie Lysing.
The news doesn't stop.
Governor Tony Evers has ordered flags to be flown at half-staff in Lysing's honor.
And neither do we.
As I saw all those people on the highways and on the bridges honoring us and honoring Katie, I was humbled, but I knew our profession is strong and it's going to remain strong.
News Radio WTMJ.
AccuNet Mortgage is an equal housing lender. NMLS ID 255368.
This is Chief Differentiation Officer Brian Wickert reminding home shoppers that working with AccuNet is different and better than working with your bank. Most bank pre-approvals state they've only verified the potential home buyer's credit, but not their income or money for down payment. To us, that's just crazy. AccuNet's rock-solid guaranteed pre-approval tells the seller we've checked out all three aspects of your financial health, and that we'll pay $2,000 if our pre-approval is faulty. Banks don't do that, but they do have a lot of overhead with all their vice presidents and fancy branches. We keep overhead low, which means lower rates and closing costs that are typically $1,000 to $3,000 lower than banks. Most importantly, our loan consultants can show you and your agent how to improve your financing and appraisal contingencies so your offer has the best chance of winning in a multiple offer situation. Hey, don't settle for a flimsy, unimaginative bank pre-approval. Click on the blue button today for your rock-solid guaranteed pre-approval. That's ACCUNET.com.
Hey, WTMJ's John Mercure here. My wife Michelle and I are taking an incredible holiday trip with Colette Vacations later this year to New York City.
One night in New York.
Start spreading the news. Magical New York City, all decked out for the holidays. The first week in December, an amazing itinerary. Trip highlights include a Rockettes holiday show at historic Radio City Music Hall, the world-famous Rockefeller Christmas tree. We'll walk to dinner and a show on Broadway, take a river cruise of New York Harbor and the Statue of Liberty, and stunning Central Park. It's New York. Holiday trip. Us and listeners, won't you please come with us? Going to be incredible. An awesome hotel right in the heart of Times Square. Let me send you one of our beautiful brochures. Send me an email, john.mercure@WTMJ.com. john.mercure@WTMJ.com. Festive and fun. Great itinerary. John.Mercure, MERCURE @WTMJ.com.
In New York.
Won't you come with us this December? I'd like for you to wake up with us in the city that never sleeps.
This is the Steve Scaffidi Show on WTMJ.
Hey, Debbie. As I said, we're having some live stream issues with Bill's mic, but I can tell you he's talking because he's got some great points, and we'll get to fixing all of that hopefully in the next half hour. So thanks for your patience out there. And I did realize how many listeners we have all over the country, so that part is rather encouraging. So patience is a virtue, as they say, and we'll get that straightened out. But in studio, Bill McCoshen and Joseph Pecky. We'll take a break for news here, and then there's a lot more to talk about. Ron DeSantis shows up in Wisconsin. Bill's in the room where it happened. He'll tell us about that. And let's go to the news. It's 9:31 from our breaking news center. Debbie Laziga.
Thanks, Steve. Paul and St. Croix County Deputy Katie Lysing will be laid to rest today. A visitation is set to begin at 9 a.m. and end at noon at Hudson High School. Then at 12:30, the funeral with law enforcement honors will begin in the high school's parking lot. In honor of Lysing, Governor Evers has ordered all flags to be flown at half-staff throughout the day. Lysing was 29 years old. In Wisconsin, the price parents pay for childcare can easily exceed the cost of in-state college tuition at a four-year public school. According to a new report from the Wisconsin Policy Forum, the average annual cost of infant care is just over $12,500. Additionally, half of Wisconsinites live in a child care desert, meaning the area they live in has either no care or an insufficient amount to meet potential demand. From 2011 to 2019, 52% of all nationwide rail transit fatalities were due to suicide. That's according to the Federal Transportation Administration. In a response, the City of Milwaukee Office of Violence Prevention is teaming up with the HOP and the American Foundation for Suicide Prevention to place signage on each HOP streetcar. The signage will display resources for anyone who's living with thoughts of depression, self-harm, or suicide. If you are living with any of these thoughts, you can call the National Suicide Crisis Lifeline at 988. Time for news about your money and the WTMJ Annex Wealth Management Market Update. Right now, the Dow is up 4 points to 33,313. The NASDAQ is down 42 to 12,286, and the S&P is down about 4 points to 4,125. Get on track with investment and retirement planning. Visit annexwealth.com and click the Get Started button today. And taking a look at your roads with your Johnson & Sons Paving Time Saver traffic. Looks like everything has wound down nicely. All the delays along 41 southbound between Capitol and Burleigh have eased up. We're pretty much back to normal and a smooth ride.
Traffic is sponsored by Hall Mazda Milwaukee. Visit hallmazdamilwaukee.com.
Be our eyes on the roads. Report accidents, slowdowns, and road conditions to the WTMJ Hall Mazda traffic tip line at 414-238-9329.
And your WTMJ 5-day forecast today, scattered showers, a high of 64 at the lake, 70 inland. Tonight, isolated showers with a low of 51. On Saturday, isolated showers, breezy with a high of 64 at the lake, 73 inland. On Sunday, scattered showers with a chance of thunderstorms, breezy with a high of 58. On Monday, mostly sunny, a high of 68 at the lake, 72 inland. And then Tuesday will be mostly sunny with a chance of showers later on, a high of 68 at the lake, 75 inland. Right now in Appleton, it's 65. Mukwonago, 68. And in Milwaukee, it's 61 degrees. I'm Debbie Lazaga, citing Unlimited WTMJ News Times 934.
WTMJ's Vince Vitrano here. You know, I played sports my entire life, been hurt a lot of times, but never had been injured until I had to stop doing the sports I enjoyed because my knee flat wouldn't allow it. I visited Orthopedic Associates of Wisconsin, where they took great care of me. I put my knee in their doctors' capable hands, and now I'm back in the gym, carrying my golf bag, pain-free for 18 holes, and playing tennis as often as I like with no issues. I'd recommend Orthopedic Associates of Wisconsin to anyone. Visit orthowisconsin.com.
You know, it feels good when I find something really cool and get a great deal on it. But it feels even better when I know that the money I spend actually goes directly to helping others. That's why I shop at St. Vincent de Paul, because I always find the best bargains, and the money I spend stays in Milwaukee County to help fight hunger and eliminate poverty. St. Vincent de Paul thrift stores on Highway 100 in Layton in Greenfield and 23rd and Lincoln in Milwaukee.
You're gonna love it, St. Vincent de Paul.
If you were offered a guaranteed cash prize, would you take the offer or would you risk it to possibly win more? It's Ho Chunk Gaming Wisconsin Dells Take It or Leave It, where on May 27th, you could be chosen to play the Take It or Leave It game, where you could be one of several participants to have the opportunity to pick a case containing up to $100,000 in cash. It's the Take It or Leave It game, May 27th at Ho Chunk Gaming, Wisconsin Dells.
See Ho Chunk Gaming representative for more details.
A unique blend of jazz and rock vocal music that has been celebrated by generations. It's Blood, Sweat, and Tears, performing live Friday, July 7th, 8 p.m. at Ho Chunk Gaming.
You made me so.
Tickets are on sale now through Ticketmaster.
And when I die,
a renaissance of unbridled talent. It's Blood, Sweat, and Tears, July 7th at Ho Chunk Gaming, Wisconsin Dells.
Must be 21 to attend concert.
Now, more of the Steve Scaffidi Show on WTMJ.
Oh, the things people text.
Can't hear Bill, but boy, they think he looks good.
Yeah,
Dang
get
right.
a lot of his hair looks perfect. He's got his nice polo shirt on. So whatever happens else after that.
All right, bust Bill's chops today. I get it.
All right, so gentlemen, happy Friday, everybody. So I'll get to we have a great show today. So I'm going to tease ahead. This doesn't mean that I'm taking away your time, but I kind of am. So 10 o'clock hour, we got two great conversations. I got the fun thing to do is to go sit in a congressman's office. I thought it was fun, and they were amazing.
Think it's fun too.
Yeah, it was amazing. And first off, when you walk into, they're not big offices. They jam more people in those little tiny offices. 2 desks on this side, 2 desks on this side. Oh, more desks in the back. And then you get to the congressman's office, and it's kind of spacious. And I've always thought, why don't you share some of that space, Congressman? But whatever. So we talked to Congressman Glenn Grothman, who was fun and had a lot on his mind. And then Congressman Brian Stile. They were very generous to my guests. So we'll do that at 10 o'clock hour. We'll bring those interviews back. And then, as I said, I spent some time at Mount Vernon, interviewed the Vice President, Matt Briney, who was amazing. And for lack of a better term, he has a more official title, historian. I learned things about George Washington that blew me away. So we're going to play those in the 11 o'clock hour. Recorded them. The sound quality is a little funky because all I had was my smartphone, but we made it all work, and we'll play those in 11 o'clock hour. And for me, it's an example of the difference in the quality of candidates and elected official from then. George Washington, obviously a high standard. We get it. It's what we have now. But, Bill, what day was this week?
Saturday night.
Last weekend.
Yeah.
Last weekend had the good fortune to attend.
Central Wisconsin Convention Center in Rothschild.
Is it Rothschild or Rothschild?
Was there a difference in what you just said?
No,
there's an S in one of them.
There's an S in there, right?
I thought so.
No
Is there?
S? I don't know.
Rothschild.
Is it?
As opposed to Rothschild.
I should know that.
All right.
Although,
Apparently,
to me, that's central Wisconsin. I'm from the real north. That's right. Superior.
And the governor of Florida, Ron DeSantis, shows up and take it away. What did he have to say?
So it was the largest crowd for a Marathon County Lincoln Day ever, 600 people. A lot of dignitaries in the room. I would say 80% of the room were Trumpers. Most hardcore Trumpers.
What was the percentage?
Probably 80.
No
kidding. They were strong supporters of Trump. But let me say this: DeSantis, the substance of his remarks were off the charts. If you were a conservative, you sat there and listened to him. He spoke for 40 minutes and said, "Holy cow, this is amazing what he's been able to accomplish." But sort of one of the underlying themes of the speech, the theme of the speech was, "I get results," and he could prove it all day long. But sort of one of the sub themes was, I got results because I added to my majorities. I now have super majorities in the Assembly and in the Senate in the state of Florida, which allows me to do these things. So if you were paying close attention to the words in his speech, you're like, not only does the guy get it done, but he grows majorities. That's what Republicans want. That's what I want anyway. But I would have this advice for Ron DeSantis. And I tell this to our hockey coaches in Janesville all the time. The kids, or in his case, the voters, want to know how much you care before they care how much you know. And what do I mean by that? Trump supporters believe he cares about them deeply, right? And they don't care about anything else. They consider it distractions or noise or nonsense. DeSantis has to get better at storytelling. He's got an unbelievable story to tell, both his personal story and what he's been able to accomplish in the Congress, and then as governor of the state of Florida. You gotta be able to connect with people. I'm not saying he didn't connect on Saturday night, because I was super impressed, and I think everyone left there saying, "Okay, I could see myself voting for this guy," which was a big step.
Was part of the problem, though. You had this pro-Trump crowd who see Ron DeSantis as a threat to Trump.
Right. Well, he probably had 8 standing ovations.
Really?
And as I said, that was largely a Trump crowd in the room. There was this notion that there were protesters. The New York Times talked about it. I didn't see a one. I saw a picture of 5 people that they must have got there late. They didn't know what time it was at.
Or what former President Trump would call the biggest crowd ever.
That's good. Touche. I'm going to give you that one.
All right.
So, listen, going into the heart of Trump country, I tweeted about this the other day, and I got a little bit of blowback from some conservatives that Marathon County voted for Michaels, blah, 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 or voted for Clayfish. The 7th congressional district is without question the most Trumpy area of the state. The biggest county and the most votes in the 7th congressional are Marathon County. That's how I got to that point. So, listen, I can back up what I say. So if you want to challenge me on Twitter, you're going to get it back. I have fun with politics, and so I think DeSantis made some big steps on Saturday night in a place where he needed to make them. As I've said a couple weeks in a row here now, it's time to Esser get off the pot. He's got to get in the race.
So is that an official announcement we're in? I mean, what is he waiting for?
I think there was a preset timeline all along. As Joe knows really well, so do you, Steve. Good campaigns, winning campaigns are nimble, and they can make adjustments. I would have made an adjustment here, and I would have him in before Memorial Day. I really would.
Yeah, once you get hit in the face with a brick bat like 16 or 17 times, it might be time to change your strategy.
Yeah.
And that's what Trump did to him.
Again, I'm not sure. There's a lot of, listen, from Wednesday night, there's a lot of hardcore Trumpers who are saying, this race is over. Baloney. This race hasn't even begun yet. But DeSantis has to get in for that to happen, and then we'll see how it shakes out.
All right, Joe, you've dismissed it. You say it's Trump's right now.
Absent an act of God. DeSantis is running for second place. He just is. They all are.
Interesting. Take a break here. Bill McCoshen, Republican strategist, Joe Zepecki, Democratic strategist as well on our regular Friday politics. I'm just getting back into the routine after being off for 4 days.
You're a dignitary. You're being treated like a dignitary.
Treated like a king. George Washington.
Coronation.
We don't do kings in this country.
Well, George Washington,
Washington,
if he wanted to, he could have been king in our country. But he said, you know what? I don't want that.
What is it, the first time in human history that someone at the head of an army willingly gave up control of that?
Wanted less power.
The Continental Army.
God, that's a refreshing point of view.
Our founders were pretty smart.
Not pretty. Really smart.
Really smart.
All right, quick break.
This is the Steve Scaffidi Show on WTMJ.
Welcome to our Everyday Health feature brought to you by the Froedtert and the Medical College Wisconsin Health Network. If you or a family member have received a serious diagnosis like cancer, heart disease, or a neurological condition, you may have been offered a clinical trial as part of treatment, and you may have questions about participating. With us today to discuss clinical trials is Dr. Ben George, a Froedtert and the Medical College of Wisconsin medical oncologist and director of the Cancer Clinical Trials Office. He'll help us understand what clinical trials are, how they fit into treatment, and why they're important. Dr. George, first of all, thanks for being with us today. What are clinical trials?
Clinical trials are broadly mechanisms to investigate the safety and effectiveness of new treatments. It may be a new drug, it may be a new approach to surgery, a new modality like radiation therapy, or lifestyle changes that can improve outcomes. Ultimately, the goal of clinical trials is really to advance our frontiers in terms of treatment options, assimilating our latest developments in science and technology.
What about a patient who isn't offered a clinical trial? Is it appropriate for that patient to ask their doctor whether there might be something available that would be appropriate for them?
I would strongly encourage patients and their families to be advocates for themselves. In fact, it would be a neat idea for them to check with their provider whether they are a candidate for a clinical trial at the time that they initiate treatment. Absolutely.
Doctor, the truth is there's been so many developments in medical science and in the way we treat serious diseases like cancer, and a lot of that comes from people participating in clinical trials. That's where these developments originate from, right?
I could not agree more. Absolutely. It sets the tone for advancements in healthcare.
Dr. George, thanks so much for being with us today.
Thank you for having me.
Find a doctor who's right for you by visiting Froedtert.com.
There are over 10,000 reasons why steel is not sold at Lowe's or the Home Depot. There are over 10,000 authorized local steel dealers. Find yours at steelusa.com. Lowe's and the Home Depot are trademarks of their respective companies.
What if you could build a six-figure retirement income with almost half the money saved? You heard that right. Get a discount on your retirement, creating a six-figure income with 40% less than traditional 401ks and mutual funds. Hi, I'm Mitch Lyons, best-selling author and executive producer of a new Hollywood documentary called The Baby Boomer Dilemma. In this film, economists and Nobel Prize-winning PhDs from Wharton, MIT, and Stanford share a strange concept I call the retirement discount. It gives you more retirement income with the same dollar saved, and your money is never at risk if the market crashes. That's right. If the market crashes 30%, you lose nothing. Even people who are on track have shifted money to this new strategy because it increases their retirement income or can allow them to stop working years sooner. So if you are over 50 and want a bigger, better retirement with less money, call to get a free copy of this brand new movie, 1-800-578-3535. This is a $30 value, but when you call today, you get it completely free, plus 2 hours of bonus behind-the-scenes footage. No credit card required. Call right now. 1-800-578-3535. That's 1-800-578-3535. Again, 1-800-578-3535.
Now, more of the Steve Scaffidi Show on WTMJ.
Having some fun on a Friday. Bill McCoshen, Joe Zapecki, as we often do. I think we got everything fixed now, so sounds like that's all ready for the rest of the show, which is filled with great interviews and fun, me.
And listen back, if you missed Bill in the first half hour.
He was actually really good, yeah. So
for a change.
Here's how I know Bill's a star, because people comment on his clothing choices now. Apparently, they love your polo shirt that you're wearing.
That's nice.
Is that blue? What color is that?
It's sort of a, bright.
Florida Gator colors is what my better half would refer to that
That's
as.
probably right.
Yeah. Lovely marlin on it.
Tommy Bahama.
Joe is underdressed today.
Joe is overly dressed today. I mean, that's...
What's the penguin shirt for?
It's Munsingwear. It's the Munsingwear penguin.
A Democrat could get away with that outfit with a jacket on. All you got to do is throw a jacket on.
Right.
And I have.
Yeah.
How about that? All right, gentlemen. So
it's one of the benefits of being a Dem.
Yeah.
The rules don't matter.
Come on. Oh, no. The wardrobe rules don't matter.
There's a lot of rules that don't matter.
Actually, this is good advice. Clothing. A sport coat dresses anything up. You can be wearing sweatpants and a paint-colored T-shirt.
Don't ask Bill and I how many times we did that during the pandemic when we were doing TV hits from home.
Yeah,
sure.
And people give you credit. You got the jacket on, they're like,
yeah,
the guy spruced it up.
Good
for him.
They didn't have to know you had pajamas on from the waist
Right.
down.
Right.
All right, gentlemen. So a candidate for office says out loud that...
another Republican
candidate
for president.
Yes. Ramaswamy, what's his first name?
Vivek.
Right. Says that maybe it's a good idea if you don't get the vote till you're 25. Bill, why would he say that?
I say that is a massive unforced error. This is the youngest guy on the Republican side. He's 37 years old. He's a multi-millionaire, brilliant guy. We should be appealing to young voters, not excluding them because they're dumb, which is essentially what he said. If you can't pass a civics test, you can't vote. Or unless you went to the service. Those are all great things, and I think we'd all like for that to happen, but doesn't our education system have something to do with that? This guy had a lane, and I think it was appealing to young voters, which are fleeing Republicans in recent elections. He could have been the one guy to help bring them back with a positive, inspiring message to young people on why he's a conservative, and he says, screw you guys. You guys shouldn't be able to vote till you're 25. Massive mistake. And I think it sort of begs a question for me, is he in this to win it or is he in it to help somebody else? Maybe Donald Trump.
I would say he has no chance anyway, so maybe he's just trying to be controversial to get his picture on TV.
Could be.
Yeah.
But yeah, what a dumb idea.
I don't get it.
Yeah.
I've tried to tell Republicans that you want to sort of open the party to more voters, not less.
Younger voters are voting in higher numbers than ever before.
You saw the turnout in the last election.
In April.
Incredible. At college
200% increase on UW-Madison campus over the previous election.
What are we doing here? That's not a serious thing you should say.
They're trying. Listen, Republicans want to win elections, and they're having a hard time with a block of voters. And so this gentleman is turning to, well, maybe if we just took them out of the equation, maybe we'd.
So one solution would be appeal to them. The other is exclude them.
Right. Mike from Heartland asked us, since we're talking about candidates, what about Chris Christie getting in?
He's still teasing he may get in. I would have been for Chris Christie in 2012. I think his time has passed. But if he's willing to get in and get in the mud with Donald Trump, I'm all for it.
It seems like he's ready to engage, which is kind of interesting.
Get in the mud. Donald Trump tried to kill him. Donald Trump went to debate prep with Chris Christie COVID, gave Chris Christie COVID, called him in the hospital to, air quotes, check on him, and within 30 seconds, according to Chris Christie's book, Mr. Trump was saying, Chris, you're not going to tell people I gave you COVID, are you?
Oh, boy.
So, yeah, bring it on. Join the party. Christie ain't going to win, but he's going to make it more watchable.
Somebody on the text line said, what was Ron DeSantis' opening remark? What did he start with?
He started with who he is, and then he
Governor of Florida,
former congressman,
served in the military. Was it Afghanistan?
Yeah, and he then he went to the report card, which there's a place and a time for the report card, and part of I think that worked on Saturday night, but I think he has to be better at storytelling and connecting with people on a more personal level so they understand what's in it for them. At the end of the day, every voter is going to make the decision on who they're going to vote for based on how it impacts them, right? So you got to connect with individual voters. In that case, there were 600 people in the room. Listen, he left there with a major positive, no question about that. I'm not saying anything negative about that. But I think to win the nomination, he's going to have to connect with people on a more personal level.
He doesn't like stories anymore. This guy got married at Disney, and now he's getting smacked around by Mickey Mouse in court.
He's got all. You can tell he's been doing radio. He's got all the lines.
He's got
now.
Mickey pinned to the mat.
No, he does not.
They changed the law for this guy, Ron DeSantis, so he could run for
he's
president.
The third one they've changed the law.
Yeah,
for.
they've changed it back and forth and back and forth and back and forth.
Florida thing.
It's a Florida thing.
He's a political hack. And by the way, the calls are coming from inside the house, right? This is a guy who's having a hard time winning the loyalty of political operatives. Yeah. Right? Bill mentioned like his team has to be nimble. Instead, the team that he had when he was running for governor is leaking among the most sacred things there are, which is private tapes of debate prep from his run for governor.
That probably was leaked by a congressman who, listen, Ron DeSantis knows everyone who was in the room. For the listeners who don't know what happened.
So you're calling out Matt Gaetz.
Yeah, I am.
Okay.
A debate tape from his 2018 run for governor, his first run for governor, was leaked. That is like you cross the line in politics. Ron DeSantis knows every person who was in that room. Not one of those people will ever be invited to a room like that again. They will be on the outside looking in. So it was Matt Gaetz because he was the first guy who said, oh, that's terrible. That shouldn't have happened, right? He's apologizing for it happening by trying to, inoculate himself.
Real quick, because we're late for break, and I want to get to grab bag. George Santos arrested. Now he's back out.
The Republican Party in 2023, ladies and gentlemen. This is the guy. He's like in one of the counts is for COVID fraud and for unemployment fraud. And he's the best they could find. He's one of the lead sponsors of the bill the same day he comes back from his arraignment to vote on this. You literally cannot make this up.
He's not a bright spot for the party.
We could do better.
Absolutely. Bill McCoshen, Joseph Pecky, grab bag after this on WTMJ.
You're listening to the Steve Scaffidi Show on WTMJ.
Brewers fans, it's me, Dom Catronio, host of Brewers Extra Innings, here to tell you that you can now catch Brewers Extra Innings wherever you get your podcasts. Apple, Spotify, and of course, WTMJ.com and the WTMJ mobile app. Every stat, every storyline, and of course, highlights from the games this season following the Brewers all year long. Catch Brewers Extra Innings, presented by Fifth Third Bank, right here on the home of the Brewers, WTMJ.
Have you saved enough? What are you going to do with Social Security? Will your taxes go up or down in retirement? I'm Tony Drake, founder of Drake & Associates. I believe retirement planning should be easy, and you should be able to get all the information you need in one place. That's why I'm offering the Retirement Ready Toolkit, a comprehensive resource for your retirement. In it, you'll find a copy of my new book, Get Retirement Ready. It'll provide insight on taxes, Social Security, income, and more. You'll also receive resources on retirement's most common concerns. To get your toolkit, call or text KIT to 414-404-4994. Get your Retirement Ready Toolkit from Drake & Associates now by calling or texting KIT to 414-404-4994.
Investment advisory services provided by Drake & Associates, LLC, an SEC-registered investment advisor. Insurance products are offered through a separate company, Law Financial Group, LLC. Registration as an investment advisor does not imply any level of skill or training.
Hurt by a truck? Call Gruberg offices. One call, that's all.
CPAP is one option that can be used to keep the throat open at night. It can work. There are other ways of keeping that airway open other than the machine. Another option that most people have never heard of is an oral appliance. An oral appliance is like a retainer that you wear when you're sleeping at night. It's super slim, slides in your mouth, and what it does is it helps to keep your airway open. That's exactly what a CPAP machine does. Most people who are good candidates for a CPAP machine to treat their sleep apnea are also good candidates for an oral appliance. Most of those people never get offered an oral appliance. Advent has decided to change the practice of medicine in this country by offering oral appliances to our patients. And what that means is we are allowing our patients to have the choice of a CPAP machine oral appliance when they have sleep apnea, and that's a big deal.
Breathe well with simple solutions. AdventNows.com.
WTMJ, W277CV, and WKTI HD2 Milwaukee from the Annex Wealth Management Studios. This is News Radio WTMJ, a Good Karma brand station. Now, more of the Steve Scaffidi Show.
As I said earlier, I'm going to bring back some recorded interviews I did with 2 congressmen, and then some great stuff from Mount Vernon. And kind of, it's like my version of showing my vacation pictures, only with audio. So we'll do that. Fascinating conversations. And for teachers, by the way, great program from Mount Vernon where they will send out experts to Wisconsin teachers to teach the kids in the classroom. Awesome opportunity, so stay tuned for that. All right, gentlemen, grab bag time. Joseph Pecky first.
Happy Mother's Day to my mom and to all the moms out there. One of the things my mom imparted in me is try to put yourself in the shoes of others. With the end of Title 42 this week, you are seeing and are going to see more talk about immigration. My appeal to people is, as you are thinking about this issue, you want to be mad at the politicians for not fixing it? Okay. You want to be mad at the smugglers for trafficking humans? Okay. Try to put yourself in the shoes of the people coming here. I saw this over the weekend, or last week. I thought it was great. Migration to the U.S. southern border has always fluctuated, but the pandemic and recession that followed hit Latin America harder than almost anywhere else in the world, plunging millions into hunger, destitution, and despair. A generation of progress against extreme poverty was wiped out. Unemployment hit a 2-decade high. Economic shocks were worsened by violence as conflict between armed groups festered in once relatively peaceful countries and raged in places long accustomed to the terror. That is the conditions that millions of migrants are trying to get out of understand that. It does not make them bad people that they want to come to a better place. America is that better place. In many ways, to much of the world, we are still that shining city on the hill. Please keep that in mind as you think about and talk about the politics of immigration.
All right, Bill
Well
McCoshen.
done. Mine's going to be very local. So lovefood.com has ranked Carnivore Steakhouse as the #1 steakhouse in the state of Wisconsin.
Have you ever eaten there? It's
Many
fantastic.
times.
Fantastic.
Omar Sheikh is a friend of mine. I consider it the top steakhouse. It is phenomenal. Joe pointed out it's Mother's Day coming up. That would be an unbelievable place. It is a first-class experience from the time you walk in the door. Top shelf wine, phenomenal steaks, great seafood, and the ambiance is just. It's fun.
It's like a commercial, but not a commercial.
It's not a commercial. And the other thing about Omar is
He's a fantastic guy.
Deeply loyal to Milwaukee.
Yeah.
You know, things like that people don't know about him, like Milwaukee Power wouldn't be in the downtown area of Milwaukee without guys like Omar Sheikh, who worked on that behind the scenes for no remuneration or anything like that, because he wants to bring people to Milwaukee. So he's a great ambassador for the city. I think he's a great ambassador for the state. And so my shout out is to Carnivore for being named #1 steakhouse in the state.
And a lot of people might not know this, but he's also in charge of Third Street Market Hall, and we got all these great food choices every day, which I sometimes have to walk quickly through because they smell fantastic.
They do.
So if you haven't been to the Avenue, check it out. Gentlemen, have a great weekend. And to echo both your comments, happy Mother's Day to my mom, Agnes. Whatever you're doing today, I'm sure it's Brewers related because you're always about the Milwaukee Brewers. Enjoy Mother's Day weekend. I will see you this weekend as well. Gentlemen, we'll do it again next Friday. Bill McCoshen, Joe Zapecki, WTMJ.
You're listening to the Steve Scaffidi Show on WTMJ.
Find everything you need this spring at Fleet Farm. Going on now. 48-count flats of annuals are just $24.99. And shop our wide selection of lawn care essentials from top brands like Scott's, Miracle-Gro, and Husqvarna. Plus, don't miss the Mother's Day Make and Take event on May 13th, starting at 10 a.m. The first 150 kids can plant a free flower pot for the perfect Mother's Day gift. Fleet Farm, your lawn and garden headquarters.
Goodyear, Dunlop, Kelly, Continental, General, you name it, we got it.
Plus, free flat tire repair, free tire rotations, and more.
So when you're due for tire service, schedule it at richlawns.com.
That's Rich Lawns with 2 N's.
Rich Lawns.
Cut through the clutter with Axiom, the weekly newsletter from Annex Wealth Management. Subscribe today for 7 insights built and delivered to you every Sunday. It'll help you navigate the markets and the things that affect your money. The Axiom. Sign up at annexwealth.com.
The place you want to go, Lynch McWanago.
Nobody sells for less than Lynch.
Don't worry, we have real kings of swing right here.
Swinging a drive to left and deep. Get up! Get out of here! Gone for Joey Weaver. That was contact there.
Our Brewers Royals coverage starts tonight with Brewers warm-up at 6. We are the home of the Brewers. News Radio 620, WTMJ, Milwaukee.
At 10:02, it is 61 degrees. Today, scattered showers, a high of 64 at the Lake 70. Inland from the WTMJ Breaking News Center, I'm Debbie Lazaga. Fallen St. Croix County Deputy Katie Lysing will be laid to rest today. A visitation is set to begin at 9 a.m. and set to end at noon at the Hudson High School. Then at 12:30, the funeral with law enforcement honors will begin at the high school parking lot. In honor of Lysing, Governor Evers has ordered all flags to be flown at half-staff throughout the day. Authorities say a man shot Lysing last week while she was trying to administer field sobriety tests to him. Lysing was 29 years old. Turning himself in this morning, the decorated Marine who choked to death a homeless man who he claims was threatening other passengers on a subway train, ABC's Dave Packer reports.
The 24-year-old turning himself in at a New York City police station. His attorney, Thomas Kenneth.
Shortly after 8 a.m. this morning, Daniel Penny surrendered at the 5th Precinct at the request of the New York County District Attorney's Office.
Penny to face second-degree manslaughter charges in the death of homeless subway passenger Jordan Neely. Neely family attorney Lennon Edwards.
It needs to be made clear that there are consequences when a civilian takes a situation into their own hands and causes a fatality.
Jordan's lawyer saying Penny needs to be in prison. Dave Packer, ABC News.
From 2011 to 2019, 52% of all nationwide rail transit fatalities were due to suicide. That's according to the Federal Transportation Administration. In response, the City of Milwaukee Office of Violence Prevention is teaming up with the HOP and the American Foundation for Suicide Prevention to place signage on each HOP streetcar. The signage will display resources for anyone who's living with thoughts of depression, self-harm, or suicide. If you are living with any of these thoughts, you can call the National Suicide and Crisis Lifeline at 988. In Wisconsin, the price parents pay for childcare can easily exceed the cost of in-state college tuition at a four-year public school. According to a new report from the Wisconsin Policy Forum, the average annual cost of infant care is just over $12,500. Additionally, half of the Wisconsinites live in a child care desert, meaning the area they live in has either no care or an insufficient amount to meet potential demand. That number is even worse in rural areas where 70% of rural Wisconsin families are in child care deserts. Time to make your travel plans. The Packers' regular season schedule is out, and for the fifth straight year, the Packers will begin the season on the road.
The Packers begin the season with a pair of road games, September 10th at Chicago, September 17th at Atlanta. Home opener scheduled for Week 3 against the New Orleans Saints, September 24th, followed by a Thursday night matchup against the Lions at Lambeau. The first of 5 primetime games for the Packers. The season also includes a trip to Detroit on Thanksgiving. The schedule includes 8 games currently slated for a noon start. Greg Matzik, WTMJ Sports.
For the complete schedule, check out our story online at WTMJ.com. Sports, traffic, and weather are next. Citing Unlimited WTMJ News Times 10:05.
This report sponsored by Mr. Holland's Heating and Air Conditioning. Visit MrHollandsHeatingandAir.com.
You know, when you think about it, moms and Mr. Holland's Home Services have something in common. We both provide comfort. Of course, most moms don't know how to repair air conditioners, install water heaters, or hook up a whole house generator. But on the flip side, Mr. Holland's technicians aren't as good as moms at changing diapers, kissing boo-boos, gluing arms back onto action figures, reading bedtime stories, playing doctor, nurse, ambulance driver, and pharmacist, checking homework, juggling schedules, arranging sleepovers, getting grass stains out of a pair of pants, volunteering, refereeing, psychoanalyzing, uncluttering closets, unsticking zippers, building last-minute science projects, wiping spills, noses, and backsides, being at 2 soccer games at once, protecting, praying, providing, and loving. We don't know how you do it, but we do know that we couldn't do what we do without moms like you doing what you do. Happy Mother's Day from Mr. Holland's Home Services.
If you want to be sure that you're getting financial planning advice you can trust, work with a fiduciary. A fiduciary should be someone who acts as a steward for you. It means they treat your assets as if they were their own, that they protect them as if they were their own, and that they try to grow them as if they were their own. Now you can take this for what it's worth, but I'm doing all I can to run a firm you can trust. That's why we're a fee-only, comprehensive financial planning firm that doesn't work for anyone but our clients and focuses only on their best interest. By being a steward, being a fiduciary to help our clients reach their financial goals. I'm Jim Cantrell, and I believe we can show you a wiser way to build your wealth. So go to financialstrategiesinc.com and schedule a no-cost consultation.
Financial strategies, a wiser way to build your wealth.
Time for a WTMJ Sports Update.
The 2023 Green Bay Packers schedule is official. The Packers will open up at Chicago in Week 1, a 5th straight season opener on the road for the Green and Gold. The home opener will be in Week 3 against the Saints. The Packers will play a total of 6 nationally televised games, including Thanksgiving in Detroit with a Week 6 bye week. The Brewers begin a 3-game series tonight against the Kansas City Royals. Corbin Burns is expected to get the start for the Brew Crew. Our coverage begins right here on WTMJ at 6:35. And lastly, the Milwaukee Admirals are looking to keep their mojo rocking tonight at the UWM Panther Arena as they get set to play host to the Texas Stars in Game 1 of the Central Division Finals. The puck drops at 7 p.m. and Game 2 will also be in Milwaukee on Saturday night. I'm Brandon Snide, WTMJ Sports.
And taking a look at your roads with your Johnson & Sons Paving Time Saver traffic, we are looking really good. Everything is clear across the area. Standard speeds and super light volume.
Traffic is sponsored by the Heiser Automotive Group. For convenient car shopping and financing, visit Heiser Automotive Group at one of their 4 locations, Toyota, Chevy, Ford, Lincoln, and Cadillac. Or visit Heiser.com because today's your day.
And your WTMJ 5-day forecast today, scattered showers with a high of 64 at the lakefront, 70 inland. And then tonight, isolated showers with a low of 51. So tomorrow, isolated showers, breezy, a high of 64 at the lake, 73 inland. For Mother's Day, Sunday, scattered showers, chance of thunderstorms, breezy with a high of 58. On Monday, mostly sunny, a high of 68 at the lakefront, 72 inland. And Tuesday, mostly sunny, chance of showers later on, a high of 68 at the lake, 75 inland. In Madison, it's 67, Green Bay 68, Waukesha 68, and in Milwaukee, 61 degrees. I'm Debbie Laziga. WTMJ News Time is 10:09.
Breaking down the biggest stories, talking about what really matters, and bringing you the biggest forum to let your voice be heard. Now, broadcasting live from the Annex Wealth Management Studios at the Avenue, here's Steve Scaffidi.
All right, I think we got all the bugs worked out finally, so now we can get back to regular radio. Thanks to Bill McCosh and Joseph Pecky, who joined us in the first hour, as they do every Friday at 9 o'clock. I say it all the time. It's the best hour in Milwaukee radio. Really smart guys, both sides of the political aisle, not afraid to go after their own side when it's appropriate, and will compliment the other side, which is something that is far too rare in today's world. So the next couple hours are going to be something a little bit something different than I typically do on a Friday. I wasn't just in Washington, D.C. for fun, although that was a big part of it. I also did some work, and part of that work is really 2 different pieces. One is talking to Wisconsin congressmen. I got a chance to visit them. And the other piece we'll play in the 11 o'clock hour is it's one of my favorite places on this planet, which is Mount Vernon, the mansion, the estates. And I had a chance to talk to 2 individuals who are very involved in making that a reality. They don't take any federal money. They are self-sustaining. So I'm going to be talking to, in the 11 o'clock hour, Matt Briney, who's Vice President of Media and Communications for Mount Vernon, and Jeremy Ray, Senior Director of Interpretation, who basically is going to blow you away with some really cool stuff about George Washington, founding father, first president, farmer, distiller, all the amazing things. So we're going to play those in the 11 o'clock hour. We got the fun stuff as well, virtual baseball, weekend review. That's all coming up. But let's start it off with our conversation about politics. First up, Congressman Brian Stiles. And I am sitting in Congressman Brian Stiles' office, which is kind of a treat for me because I always talk to you, Congressman, on the phone. Sometimes you stop in studio. So happy Tuesday. I'm going to admit to my audience, this is not a live interview. We're doing it on Tuesday on my visit to the nation's capital. So first off, I always ask you this question. How are you loving your job?
I enjoy the work, but rest assured there's days where I want to pound my head in a brick wall.
I can imagine that. One of the things that I'd like to kind of try to figure out is, what are the issues that you're working on? And we talked a little bit before we started recording this about social media. We know there's big conversations about debt ceiling, budget debate. What's the big picture stuff you're going to be working on this week that we're going to now be talking about on Friday?
So I look at it and I kind of bifurcate what we're doing. So there's big picture items like the debt ceiling, getting our spending under control, saving taxpayers money. There's big picture items like securing our border with Title 42 expiring this week. But then also there's some things that are in the weeds that I actually think we could maybe have cooler heads prevail, some bipartisan wins. I introduced a bill this week, in particular as it relates to children's mental health, to really require our government to come up with a plan to address the fact that social media is having really negative consequences on children's mental health.
You and I were talking before we started, and that's one of those things that everybody's kind of on the same page. We should do something. The big question, the looming question is what exactly we do, and the second one, how do we enforce it?
So this bill requires those at the Department of Health and Human Services, in particular those that oversee our mental health services, to come back and develop a plan and say, here's the course of action that we should take comprehensively as it relates to social media and to children. What we don't have right now is a national plan to really address the negative impact that social media is having on kids. I think now is the time to do that. We're all, I think, aware of the negative impacts. Let's have a plan. Let's address it. This is a bipartisan bill. It's one of the things I spend a lot of time on.
You know, you mentioned bipartisan. That is something that's hard to find in Washington. But this is one of those issues, Congressman, that people say, we all understand there's a problem here. Any expectation on how soon we could start to figure things out?
You know, some of this, I think, it is more and more apparent to people that we have serious mental health challenges across the country. I personally think that was exacerbated during the period of time of the pandemic, particularly for kids and kids who had in-school learning closed. How do we unwind ourselves from the situation that we're in? I'm a belief that we need to have substantive resources for student mental health, in particular in the schools. I did a roundtable at a Racine high school because Racine Unified School District actually does a really good job addressing mental health challenges. This bill takes that a step further, says we need to have a national plan. All of these are pieces of the puzzle, but we have to continue to work to address this.
Congressman Brian Stile joining us from his office in Washington, D.C. So let's talk about the other big question, right? And it's really, the question is debt ceiling and the budget. You believe, and I believe those two things are connected. So what's the approach? How do we sort this out? What is the concern for not figuring it out before that, that looming deadline?
So the most important thing is that people are coming together and having a conversation about how we get through this period of time. How do we responsibly raise the debt ceiling? We want to make sure that we make good on the nation's debts. Failure to do so has real negative consequences. Republicans in the House put forward a bill that I voted for, that I helped draft, that really says, look, we got to limit the growth of future government spending to make sure that we don't just return to this place again. We got to save taxpayers' money. Let's do things like claw back unspent COVID funds. Let's make sure that the tax funds that were being spent on Green New Deal energy aren't going to companies in China. Let's claw those things back, save taxpayer money. And then the final piece is let's grow the economy. Let's make sure that we're increasing tax revenue, not by raising rates, but by actually increasing the amount of economic activity we have in the United States. No one else has brought forward a plan. The Senate hasn't moved forward with any plan. Not a clean debt ceiling limit, not a debt ceiling limit with the savings and adjustments that I would like to see. And so the sooner and the more we're working to work on a bipartisan way to get this done, the better off we're going to be.
Why do you think the Senate hasn't come up with their own version of a plan?
Well, I think it's pretty clear. The president's position coming into the negotiations this week was my way or the highway. Clean debt ceiling, head in the sand, get to my position or I'm not dealing with you. It's why he delayed so many weeks to even meet with Speaker McCarthy. That position is really untenable in the Senate. I don't think that Chuck Schumer has the votes in the Senate to move forward a debt ceiling increase with no taxpayer savings. And so that's the reason that we are the only ones with a bill on the table. The Senate has done nothing, absolutely nothing as it relates to this as of our conversation here today. And so this is the moment where even coming into the room this week, the conversation that they're going to have, I think is really important.
So I'd always like to do some fun stuff when I have you, because we do a lot of events together when you come back into town. We're doing one in a couple weeks for Huntington's disease,
yes.
Which is a disease that not a lot of people know about. But I love the fact that you have a sort of a different version of your job. You have a youthful enthusiasm, if I can put it that way. You seem excited about going to work. The times I've talked to you on the phone or when you come in the studio, you love your job. And I asked you at the beginning, you still love it. What do you love about the job? What do you love about Washington, D.C.?
I'll tell you, there's a couple of things. I have a unique opportunity to meet people I'd never otherwise meet, in particular all across southeast Wisconsin. I had a gentleman come up to me and inform me it was my third cousin. I mean, when would you ever meet your third cousin unless, right? In this job, it's just wild who you get to meet. The other piece is you get to substantively help people in real world situations. I had a woman who came in whose daughter was getting married and she didn't renew her passport. We were able to help her expedite that so she could go to her daughter's wedding. Sure, that's small. It's a big deal if it's your daughter's wedding. That's fun. We also have some big challenges, right? We talked about the debt. We talked about the broken U.S.-Mexico border. We could go down the list. That's hard work, but I admittedly don't mind kind of rolling up my sleeves, getting in and having conversations, not only with those that sometimes I philosophically agree with, but also those I disagree with, because in particular, at a period of time of divided government like we're in right now, with Republicans in the House, Democrats in the Senate, Democrats in the White House, any bill that's going to get across the line is going to require both parties coming together.
Do you work well with the other side? I mean, do you guys get together for lunch or whatever? Because I remember the last time I was here as a mayor, there was a lot of that stuff going on. Do we still do that?
There's a lot more than the media would portray for you. So if you turn on cable TV, you're going to see people yelling and screaming at each other. And there are things that are partisan. I don't mean like everybody's singing Kumbaya in Washington. But there is a lot of work that gets done because it has to. And some things just aren't partisan in nature. You can think of working to make sure that veterans were taken care of who were exposed to burn pits. Tons of tough work. That's a difficult issue to figure out how we get the funding right, how we protect our veterans. But at the end of the day, we had a massive bipartisan win. That happens a little more often than people realize. I think some of it is people spend maybe a little too much time on cable TV.
Congressman Brian Style from his beautiful office in Washington, D.C. Thanks for hosting us.
Thanks for having me, Steve.
You're listening to the Steve Scaffidi Show on WTMJ. Ah, look, the Royals are coming to town. Let's give them a customary Milwaukee greeting.
High fly ball, deep right field. Back goes Hayward at the track. Gone!
It's the Brewers and the Royals.
Willie Adames with the exclamation point.
Our Brewers Radio Network game day coverage starts tonight at 6:35. Presented by American Family Insurance. We are the home of the Brewers. WTMJ.
You might not think of Burkhart for corporate uniforms and other business apparel, but you should, because a lot of businesses do. And it's because most times we're cheaper than our competition on the same high-quality apparel choices that the other guys offer, plus Nike and Under Armour that the other guys can't get. So for businesses and corporations, if you want your employees to look great while representing your brand, and you want to get your apparel for less, you can't beat Burkhart, your business uniform specialists.
You can't beat Burkhart.
The task of lining up your group apparel sales can take up a lot of your time, but Burkhart Sporting Goods can make it so easy. The group sale web stores that we provide our customers at no charge to line up their team or corporate apparel sales is a simple way of gathering all the info you need. It's easy to work, easy to understand, and with it, you'll have access to nearly limitless options. This is Brian Burkhart with Burkhart Sporting Goods. Give us a call and let us show you just how easy group apparel sales can be.
You can't beat Burkhart.
It's ESPN Wisconsin's Greg Scalzo for Smart Spaces. How can Smart Spaces transform your business?
Really looking at the entire space holistically. The environment, the walls, ceilings, lighting, flooring, furniture, technology, along with acoustics.
To conceptualize how the end users are going to interact with the room, from the furniture all the way down to the AV, having that work seamlessly within the environment and often hiding within the furniture.
Let Smart Spaces transform your business today. Visit smartspaceswi.com.
You are a guaranteed winner with Siding Unlimited, Wisconsin's best contractor for your home's beauty and defense. Siding Unlimited is siding, of course, but so much more. Windows, roofing, decks. Siding Unlimited is recognized as the MVP in all those areas by customers and suppliers alike. You want major league work done on your house, so start by contacting Siding Unlimited. SidingUnlimited.com.
Now, more of the Steve Scaffidi Show on WTMJ.
As I said, we're bringing you interviews that I recorded in the beautiful city of Washington, D.C. with some Congress people, and coming up in the 11 o'clock hour, some great conversation about my favorite president, George Washington, probably yours as well, and his estates that looks exactly the same today as it did all those years ago, and those will be coming up in the 11 o'clock hour. Don't forget virtual baseball, 10:35. Week in review, sponsored by Outdoor Living Unlimited. Siding Unlimited sponsors virtual baseball. All still to go. All right, so we had our first conversation. Let's go to number 2, Congressman Glenn Grothman. Our second visit in Washington, D.C., kind of a treat to be in the office of Congressman Glenn Grothman. You're always on the phone. Sometimes you join us in the studio, so welcome.
Well, glad to be on the show. Glad for you to come and visit me.
Yes,
it's tremendous.
We have to change the routine. So I want to ask you, give me some fun facts about Wisconsin and people that come to see you. Then we'll get to some of the serious
stuff.
stuff.
A couple of facts. Before you were here in this office, we had the frozen food industry. And I don't think enough people in Wisconsin know that of the 50 states, Wisconsin is the green bean capital of the country.
How do we not know this?
I don't know. Make sure that when you go out for your fish fry on Friday night that you have some green beans, because that's one way you can support our economy.
All right, you guys working on a lot of, men and women working on a lot of important things. What are some of the front and center issues you're going to be working on this week? I'm going to play this on Friday, so we'll see if you're right. These are the issues that are going to come up in front of Congress.
Well, we're going to have some hearings on perhaps waste in the Navy. You know, they always sometimes talk about the military fighting the last war. I'm a subcommittee chairman on government oversight. And on that committee, we're going to be delving into seeing whether we're building the ships that are best to defend our shores, or maybe building ships just out of inertia, which is the way the Department of Defense frequently acts.
How much are they resistant to change? They like protocol. They like doing it the same way forever. And you and I both know that's not always the most efficient way to do things.
Well, you know they don't like change. That's true throughout government. And our country right now is vulnerable to things like hypersonic missiles. And if you're really worried about a future war, you'd be defending yourself against that, right? You maybe wouldn't be having big, slow ships that hypersonic missiles will find it easy to sink. So we're going to have a confidential briefing later today, but we're going to have a public hearing on Thursday on my own subcommittee. So we'll see what comes out of that.
Obviously, one of the big issues, debt ceiling and figuring out a budget. So a lot of people are connecting them. I think Republicans, conservatives say they're connected. Let's figure this out.
Right, and I was really thrilled to see that President Biden is going to negotiate with Kevin McCarthy. A lot of people felt the Republicans couldn't get their act together. We did get our act together. We passed a proposal by 217 to 215, so we didn't have a lot of wiggle room, but it will be good to back off a little bit. The public doesn't know the size of our debt. Our debt was about equal to 100% of GDP at the end of World War II. But at the end of World War II, we knew we were going to stop building ships, we were going to lay off millions of military personnel. Right now, we're like at 99% of GDP, and it doesn't look like there's anything in the future that's going to go down. As a matter of fact, as people retire, Social Security is going to go up, Medicare is going to go up. So it's a big problem. So I hope President Biden is serious on looking at this stuff a little bit.
One more big one that's on people's minds. I just had a conversation with Wisconsin State Senator last week on social media. What do? Kids are getting involved in this. Depression, anxiety, suicide. Is there a bipartisan solution on social media that makes sense?
I can't think of a bipartisan solution. And part of the problem is, of course, we have the First Amendment. I do think it'd be good if we would promote, in general, stronger family, because I think as family becomes weaker, you begin to have a greater problem with these mental health issues. And, you know, when I was a child, mental health, saying we have mental health problems would be an outlier. Now, common, more suicides, very, very treacherous situation, and part of that is the social media.
Always great to talk to you. It's fun to do it in your office here in Washington, D.C. Let's do it again.
Absolutely. Come out here. Now, we're not all alone. Can we tell people that?
We are joined by my wife, Kathy, my sister-in-law, Patty, and her husband, Mike Ritchie, and all of your staff who are tremendous, by the way. I will say this, the best staff that I've dealt with in Washington, D.C.
They are the best staff in Washington. People say, I don't know why Glenn Grothman keeps getting reelected. He's got the best staff in Washington, D.C.
I think we've decided to thank you, Congressman. Some fun in Washington, D.C. It doesn't always have to be serious. And thanks to the Congressman, plural, Congressman Brian Stile and Congressman Glenn Grothman, and their great staff. I said it, we said it in that last piece. They are tremendous individuals doing really tough work. The parade of people that goes in and out of their offices every day is amazing, and they're coordinating that. They were very nice to me, very accommodating, but we had to hit that time schedule, and we had a Capitol visit, a White House visit, and then we had to get to their offices at just the right time. We made it all work, brought some of that back to you. All right, before we get to break, I'm going to start asking for phone calls, 855-616-1620. We need 2 players for virtual baseball, sponsored by Siding Unlimited. Your chance to win not only a WTMJ prize package, which is good enough, but be entered in our monthly drawing for a $500 gift card. That's what I'm talking about. That's what we're going to do after the news, which will follow this break on WTMJ.
This is the Steve Scaffidi Show on WTMJ.
This week on WTMJ.
Dr. John Raymond.
The public health emergency won't affect your access to COVID-19 treatments or vaccines, but it may change some things that you have to think about in terms of your eligibility.
The big names.
Attorney General Josh Call.
We've argued that laws that were passed after Roe v. Wade that regulate lawful abortion are fundamentally inconsistent with that 1849 ban.
The stories you're talking about.
I'm not arguing that he didn't get out coached. This is going to be interesting because he is clearly a championship level coach.
News Radio WTMJ.
What if you could build a six-figure retirement income with almost half the money saved? You heard that right. Get a discount on your retirement, creating a six-figure income with 40% less than traditional 401ks and mutual funds. Hi, I'm Mitch Lyons, best-selling author and executive producer of a new Hollywood documentary called The Baby Boomer Dilemma. In this film, economists and Nobel Prize-winning PhDs from Wharton, MIT, and Stanford share a strange concept I call the retirement discount. It gives you more retirement income with the same dollar saved, and your money is never at risk if the market crashes. That's right. If the market crashes 30%, you lose nothing. Even people who are on track have shifted money to this new strategy because it increases their retirement income or can allow them to stop working years sooner. So if you are over 50 and want a bigger, better retirement with less money, call to get a free copy of this brand new movie, 1-800-578-3535. This is a $30 value, but when you call today, you get it completely free, plus 2 hours of bonus behind-the-scenes footage. No credit card required. Call right now. 1-800-578-3535. That's 1-800-578-3535. Again, 1-800-578-3535.
Providing the largest cancer clinical trials treatment program in Wisconsin is more than a statistic. It means offering you more options. It means more hope. And having expertise for every type of cancer is more than a checklist. It's how we're able to create a personalized treatment plan to help conquer your individual cancer. Because at the Froedtert and the Medical College of Wisconsin Cancer Network, people are the driving force behind providing the most advanced, most powerful cancer care available. Our clinical excellence has led to incredible breakthroughs, like using a person's own genes to successfully treat cancer. And by offering an adaptive therapy that combines an MRI scanner with leading-edge technology, we're able to deliver ultra-precise radiation therapy that adapts to your cancer's changes. We push further, learn more, and lead the way. That's how we do everything humanly possible for life without cancer. To find out how dedication fuels breakthrough cancer care, visit Froedtert.com/cancer.
This is the Steve Scaffidi Show on WTMJ.
Having some fun on a Friday, joining us after the break for news here, Marlene and Paul are our players for virtual baseball, chance to win a WTMJ prize package and a $500 gift card, thanks to the great folks at Siding Unlimited. Our news time here at WTMJ from our beautiful Avenue Studios in downtown Milwaukee is 10:30-ish from our breaking news center. Eric Bilstead.
Thank you, Steve. St. Croix County Deputy Katie Lysing will be laid to rest today. A visitation taking place right now at Hudson High School in northwest Wisconsin. 12:30, the funeral with law enforcement honors to follow. In Wisconsin, the price parents pay for childcare can easily exceed the cost of in-state college tuition at a 4-year public school. That, according to a report from the Wisconsin Policy Forum. The average annual cost of infant care is more than $12,000. Also, half of Wisconsinites live in child care deserts, which mean they live in an area that either has no care or is insufficient when it comes to demand. More than 30 million birds are expected to land somewhere in Wisconsin today. Bird experts tell the Milwaukee Journal-Sentinel the unpredictable weather conditions during the migration season have created an unprecedented peak this year. Time now for News About Your Money and the WTMJ Annex Wealth Management market update. So far, everything in the red. The Dow is down 90 to 33,219. The Nasdaq is down 53 to 12,274. And the S&P is down 12 to 41,17. Get on track with investment and retirement planning. Visit annexwealth.com and click the Get Started button today. Checking your roads now with the Johnson & Sons Paving Time Saver Traffic. 94 eastbound, Highway 16. Through the Zoo interchange into the Marquette interchange. You should be good getting in. That should be about a 17-minute trip. 4145 south, Highway Q to the Zoo is delay-free. It's 15 minutes. 43 southbound, also looking good from Brown Deer Road into downtown. That's a 12-minute trip. And 94 northbound, no problem. Layton into the Marquette interchange, 7-minute ride.
Traffic is sponsored by Design Exchange in Heartland and Pewaukee. Design Exchange is where discerning buyers with discriminating tastes come to find premium home decor on consignment at 25 to 40% off retail prices in Heartland and Pewaukee.
The WTMJ 5-day forecast, some scattered showers, a high of 70 today. Tonight, isolated showers and a low of 51. For Saturday, isolated rain, breezy, a high of 73 inland. Sunday, some more scattered showers on your Mother's Day, maybe even a thunderstorm, a high of 58. Monday, sunny, a high of 72. Tuesday, sunny, chance for showers late on Tuesday, and a high of 75 degrees inland. Right now in Milwaukee, it is 62. I'm Eric Bilstead, Siding Unlimited, WTMJ News Time, 10:33.
Let's take a minute of R&R. R&R Insurance, that is. R&R Insurance provides employee benefits to all of us here at Good Karma Brands. Business insurance is getting more complex these days. To share some knowledge about that is Jeff Salasinski, VP of Insurance Operations at R&R Insurance.
Hey, Vince. Today's commercial insurance market demands the sharp focus of your insurance advisor. Thousands of insurance agencies have sold or merged their businesses. The result? Your agent can become consumed with integration issues and adjusting to a new culture. Preoccupied with systems and people issues that always come with that level of change. The impact this M&A has in your business can be disruptive, and they lose focus on you, the client.
So, Jeff, what's the solution?
With 48 years of stability, local family ownership, and deep industry knowledge, R&R Insurance will be focused on you, the client, not the progress and payout of an acquisition. And the best part? We're not for sale. At R&R Insurance, we know business insurance.
That's Jeff from R&R Insurance. Thanks for the great info, Jeff.
Alleviate your pain, rejuvenate your life.
So when you're in a pain spiral, will stem cells or bone marrow harvested from your body and then placed back into your body get you out of it? For those willing to go through a very expensive and not exactly easy process, which is not FDA approved, it might. But for those not willing to pay exorbitant amounts to go through all that, especially knowing that pain relief is not a sure thing, it's not an option. At Rejuvenex, we inject powerful, FDA-approved treatments that reduce inflammation and pain, while improving mobility in hips, shoulders, elbows, and knees. With some patients experiencing relief for greater than 2 years before repeating the process. I'm Richard Salinas, registered nurse with Rejuvenex Arthritis Pain Clinics, and we are in network with most major insurance plans, including Medicare and Medicaid. We can alleviate your pain, and that'll rejuvenate your life. It's pain relief, really.
Rejuvenex. Alleviate your pain, rejuvenate your life.
Go to rejuvenex.com to request your appointment.
The grass is cut, the hot dogs are hot, and the beer is ice cold.
Right and deep. Oh, baby, get up.
It's time for virtual baseball on the Steve Scaffidi Show. Brought to you by Siding Unlimited.
All right, here we go on Friday's edition of Virtual Baseball, sponsored by Siding Unlimited. As you heard, two players going head-to-head. We'll get to the rules in a second. Let's meet our contestants on this fun Friday. First up, Marlene from Milwaukee. Welcome, Marlene.
Welcome.
So tell me about Marlene from Milwaukee in 30 seconds or less.
Marlene from Milwaukee. Well, what can I say? I'm still living.
There you go. Positive attitude.
I'm a grandmother of 5 and soon to have a great-grandchild.
Very cool.
And I'm trucking every day, listening to WTMJ.
We love that, and I appreciate you to listen to my show as well. All right, so stand by, Marlene. Let's meet Paul from Marinette, Wisconsin. Hi, Paul.
Hello, how you doing?
I am wonderful on this Friday. Hopefully you are as well. So what do we need to know about Paul from Marinette?
Well, I guess Paul from Marinette right now is on his way to Wisconsin Dells to pick up a brand new camper.
Ooh, very nice. And where do you camp?
All over. In fact, we're camping this weekend with the brand new camper. So we haven't even booked the campground yet. We'll find one once we get the camper.
Hopefully the weather holds out and you don't have to deal with a lot of rain. So that's our contestants, Marlene from Milwaukee, Paul from Marinette. Producer Brandon will walk you through the ground rules as we approach home plates. Go ahead, Brandon.
All right, here we go. We got two players today. You heard Paul and you heard Marlene. Paul will serve as our away team and Marlene will serve as our home team. Each of them will get a separate set of 10 highlights. Each set will include an equal number of hits. There's some home runs, some triples, some doubles, and some outs, unfortunately. They are numbered 1 through 10. You get 5 selections. After those 5 selections, 5 swings, we only record the hit in the highlight, not the runs scored in the highlight. After those 5 swings, the number of runs is tallied up, and that becomes your final score. If there is a tie, which seems to be an ongoing theme here, to start the year. The home team will try to walk it off. They will have two separate highlights that they can pick, A or B, and whether it's a home run or an out will determine who the winner is.
All right, that's our ground rules for Marlene and Paul. Paul, you are first up. As he said, 5 choices, 10 possible highlights. What's your first selection?
Let's go with 7.
Number 7 is Rowdy Tellez.
Johnson looks in, sets up on the first base side of the rubber. Here's the pitch. And Tellez, a line drive, snagged out of the air by Toby.
Promising for a moment.
It
One out.
good. Sounded good.
Paul, you got 4 at bats. Got to get some runners on. You got to get some runners in. Your second choice.
Let's go with number 4.
Number 4 is Jesse Winker.
0-2, line drive, left field. That's going to get down for a base hit. Weimer is in. Yelich around third. Here's the throw home. Yelich is
All right,
safe.
pay no attention to that other stuff, but it's an all-important base runner. Runner on first. Paul, that's always important, but now you got to get him around the horn. What is your third choice?
3.
Number 3 is going to be Jesse Winker once again.
3-2 pitch to Winker. Ground ball towards second. Cronenworth has it on a couple of hops, throws to first, and Winker is retired.
Oh, you're getting the outs out of the way.
Yeah,
That's the good
so,
news.
all right, so, Paul, you still have a runner on first. You got 2 at-bats. That's 2 at-bats left. What's your fourth pick?
9.
Number 9 is Willie Adames.
3 on the left field side, the pitch. Line to left center and deep. Get up! Get up! Get out of here!
Oh, we got something.
There we
Paul
go.
is on the
There we go.
board. Thank you for that call, Bob Euchre. Paul, all-important home run, 2 runs across. There's still another homer out there. You got a 5th and final choice to make. What is it?
Let's go with number 1.
Number 1 is going to be Garrett Mitchell.
First pitch swinging. It's a line drive down the right field line. It's going to roll all the way to the wall. Anderson's around second. They're going to wave him around third. Mitchell on his way to third. Here's the throw to the plate. It will be cut off.
All right,
And
so we have Paul has 2 runs across the plates.
Leaves a runner at third.
Yes,
That's okay, though.
that's always tough.
all right.
That's always tough. He was playing tough. Marlene, you've got to score at least 2 to tie, which will take us to the tiebreaker, or walk them off with 3 runs. Marlene, what's your first choice? 1 through 10. What's your pick?
Yes, I noticed he took some of my players.
It doesn't matter. It doesn't matter.
Let's give a couple of them a second chance. Number 7.
Number 7.
Number 7, we got Blake Perkins.
1-2. Swing and a miss. He struck him out.
All right,
that was uneventful.
Yeah, just like Paul, you started with an out. So 4 at bats left.
I guess
Let's do
he's
something.
No good at all.
All right. So what's next?
Number 5.
Number 5, we got Christian Yelich.
Another 2-2. Curveball blasted deep right.
Oh.
Way back. Gone for Yelich.
All right.
There we go.
All right. Christian Yelich helps out Marlene. So right now, Marlene and Paul's up 2 runs to 1, but Marlene still has 3 at bats left. Can she advance another run across the plate to at least get to a tiebreaker? Marlene, what's your third choice?
Number 6.
Number 6, we have Rowdy Tellez.
Swinging a drive to right.
Uh-oh. We got a tie.
Got some momentum here.
Woo. All right. Howdy, Rowdy. Marlene ties it up. 2 back-to-back home runs. All right, so we have each of you, Marlene and Paul, have 2 runs. Marlene has 2 at-bats left. It is possible if you get some big hits here, Marlene. What's your 4th pick?
Number 10.
Number 10, we have Christian Yelich.
0-2 pitch. Got him looking. Went slider on the inside corner. Now
All right, something tells me we're going to have a tiebreaker here, but what's your 5th and final selection?
Boy, that's a tough one here. Which ones did I even pick? I don't understand.
7, 5, 6, and 10. So you have all the other numbers, and it's a formality because there's probably not going to be another home run in here. But we'll let you pick it anyway. Pick a low number.
Well, okay. Number. Oh, I already picked 7, right?
Yes.
4.
Number 4.
Number 4, William Contreras.
3-1 pitch, swing and a line drive, center field. That's in for a base hit.
All right.
Both leaving runners stranded. Come on,
All
guys.
right. So Marlene and Paul, we all go to the all-important tiebreaker. I believe Marlene will make the selection. Is that correct, Producer Brandon?
That is correct, Steve. Marlene is our home team, so in this case, the home team has the chance to win the game in walk-off fashion. Now, listen up, Marlene. We have two highlights. They are labeled A and they are labeled B. One of them is a walk-off hit or home run. The other is a game-ending out. You must choose A or B. If it is a walk-off, then the home team obviously wins. If it is an out, then the home team loses. In this case, Paul would be victorious, and he would go home with the ultra-popular WTMJ prize package. So, Marlene, highlight A or highlight B?
I think I'll take B.
There we go.
B, and here we go.
Moreno will pick it up as he didn't squeeze it cleanly. Applies the tag on Adames.
Oh, Marlene, you left it out there. That means Paul is our winner of the tiebreaker. Paul, congrats. Marlene, thanks for playing Virtual Baseball, sponsored by Siding Unlimited. Thank you. And Paul, you are a winner. Not only do you win a WTMJ prize package, you'll also be entered into our monthly drawing for a $500 gift card thanks to Siding Unlimited. How you feeling, Paul?
Oh, I'm feeling real good now.
All right, Brandon, we'll get all your important information. Thanks again to the folks at Siding Unlimited, sponsor of Virtual Baseball. Take us to break, Brandon.
You know who I haven't seen yet at the ballpark tonight? Our hot dog guy, who every time he would, get into an area and try to make a sale of a hot dog or two, he would bark like this. But I haven't heard him tonight. I gotta ask one of our ushers down in front of us, because he'd always stop by to say hello, but he had that bark with his hot dogs when he was selling.
This is the Steve Scaffidi Show on WTMJ.
From the ashes of the Galactic Empire comes a new threat to the galaxy 30 years later. And you can see the drama unfold as the Milwaukee Symphony Orchestra presents Star Wars: The Force Awakens in concert. Visit MSO.org for tickets or call 414-291-7605. Join Han, Leia, Chewie, and 3PO as they team up with new friends BB-8, Rey, Poe, and Finn to find the missing Luke Skywalker and defeat Kylo Ren and the evil First Order. Director J.J. Abrams has something for fans young and old, and there's nothing like hearing the music of John Williams live as the movie shows on screen. Star Wars: The Force Awakens in concert runs May 12th through the 14th only at the Bradley Symphony Center. Call for tickets 414-291-7605 or visit mso.org.
To be the best, you have to beat the best. And in order to beat the best, you have to compete with the best. And I'll tell you what, playing with the best equipment doesn't hurt either, especially when it comes to baseball and softball. We truly believe that. And that's why Burkhardt Sporting Goods stocks the Midwest's largest selection of the finest baseball and softball equipment. More bats, more gloves, and more equipment from all the best names. This is Brian Burkhardt, and when you love baseball and softball like we do,
You can't beat Burkhardt.
if you plan on draining buzzer beaters, the place to start is Burkhardt, where you'll find a great selection of shoes and court gear. But what's going to turn you into the next big thing on the court is practice. And there's no better place to do it than on your own court. Having your own hoop is an absolute must to hone your shot. And we'll help you get there with a great selection of basketball hoops and accessories. This is Brian Burkhardt, and I promise you, when you love basketball like we do,
You can't beat Burkhardt.
When you're due for tire service, visit richlands.com for the location nearest you.
We'll give you a free flat tire repair on every tire we install. No questions asked. I'm Brett Matchke with Richlands. You're due for service.
Richlands.
Need a new bank for your small business? How about an old one? Now through June 30th, you can earn up to a $500 cash bonus when you open a free or basic business checking account with Old National. So think big when it comes to your small business and choose a bank where relationships and results matter. Visit a local branch or apply at oldnational.com/success today. Complete qualifying activities within 60 days of account opening. $50 minimal initial deposit required. Account must remain open 120 days. Member FDIC. Old National Bank. Get old.
You are a guaranteed winner with Siding Unlimited, Wisconsin's best contractor for your home's beauty and defense. Siding Unlimited is siding, of course, but so much more. Windows, roofing, decks. Siding Unlimited is recognized as the MVP in all those areas by customers and suppliers alike. You want major league work done on your house, so start by contacting Siding Unlimited. SidingUnlimited.com.
Now, more of the Steve Scaffidi Show on WTMJ.
All right, virtual baseball, a wrap for another Friday. Thanks to Siding Unlimited for letting us have that fun on a Friday. Speaking of fun, so I was in Washington, D.C. Saturday through yesterday morning, and I had the pleasure of taking my wife, Kathy. It was sort of a delayed retirement present. She retired from full-time teaching 3 years ago, right during the pandemic, right at the end, or the beginning of the pandemic. And also my brother and sister-in-law, Mike and Patty. And I've been to Washington, D.C. a ton of times. I went to management school there. I visited there as a mayor, U.S. Conference of Mayors, all of those things. But the thrill of taking someone who has never seen it before is something that I will never forget. And it was a chance to see, and we get thanks to all the folks who made this possible, the White House, tour of the Capitol. As we heard in the 10 o'clock hour, I visited with a couple congressmen, Brian Stile and Glenn Grothman. They were fantastic. Their staff was accommodating. A lot of important issues. And then we went to Mount Vernon, and through some great friends of the show, we had a trip of a lifetime. And I had been there before as well. But it was part of what I wanted to bring back was what it felt like to be there and to have all access to Mount Vernon. I actually tweeted this out over the trip. I just had this desire to see the basement. If you saw the movie National Treasure 2 with Nicolas Cage, that's part of that movie. And I knew there was a basement. Unlike the Alamo, there is a basement. And I got a chance to see it, which is not something the public typically gets to do. I also got a chance to climb up to the very top of the house on a ladder, which is not something that everybody gets to do. And meet some great people, our tour guide, all the great folks. Carolina, who is kind of our representative, kind of orchestrating all of this, was absolutely fantastic. But it brings me to a point, because I had that amazing highlight of a trip. And the next day, we're touring some of the landmark Smithsonian buildings, archives, and National Portrait Gallery. Actually, archives was closed, so we couldn't visit it that day, but we were looking at the building. And I noticed that there was a large number of kids. I would say middle school, maybe early high school, but they seem younger than that. Many of them chose to make a political statement with their choice of hats or T-shirts. Now, this is a free country. You can do what you want. But I thought to myself, in a place as awesome as Washington, D.C., and then it's one of those, you have the right to do it, but is it the right thing to do? I didn't think so. I didn't think it was appropriate. You're looking at the presidential portraits of every president going back to George Washington, all the way through Donald Trump, which, if you don't know, if you go to the National Portrait Gallery, the current president is highlighted kind of the center of that multi-room display. And just as an aside about Washington, D.C., if you have the opportunity, go to spend some time there. We moved around. We went to Arlington National Cemetery. It's such a historic place, obviously. But most of these sites are so well maintained that it's easy to move around. Uber one place to another. You can do multiple things in one day. And if you time it away from the rush hours, morning and afternoon, you can do all these things. It's a busy schedule, sure. But this one thing that I saw, and I'd love to hear what you have to say about it, 855-616-1620 on the old National Bank Talk and Text line. I was put off by it. I don't need to see Let's Go Brandon or some other derogatory, on both sides, T-shirts, hats. I just don't need to see that. Because for me, even though maybe it's a misnomer now, there should be a respect of history. There should be a respect of the place that really is the cradle, and I know Philadelphia was the center before there was a Washington, D.C., but it is really the place where our country took off, became this great place that people still want to come to. We know that. And I was put off by it. And I'm not sure if the kids just, once one kid starts doing something, they all start doing it. Whatever it was, I just didn't think it was appropriate. Doesn't mean they don't have the right to do it. I'm not fighting that battle. I just didn't like it. I didn't see a lot of that at the Mount Vernon estate. So thankfully that was a good thing. But I did notice it when we were touring around the mall, looking at the various sites, the memorials, which we also stopped and visited. Something to think about. 855-616-1620. If you have a thoughts, text is fine. And don't forget, coming up in the 11 o'clock hour, 2 great interviews with some leaders at Mount Vernon, George Washington's Mount Vernon estate, Jeremy Ray, Senior Director of Interpretation, and Matt Briney, Vice President, Media and Communications out there. Fascinating information about the sites and the person, George Washington. Those are coming up after the 11 o'clock hour news. Quick break after this.
This is the Steve Scaffidi Show on WTMJ.
Analyzing the best of the diamond from every degree. Brewers 360. Your comprehensive look at all things Brewers, on and off the field.
Swing and a drive to right and deep. Get up!
Hear from Brewers reporters, announcers, and members of the front office every morning on Wisconsin's Morning News at 7:45. It's Brewers 360, presented by Holiday Automotive and Outdoor Living Unlimited.
May is here, and as a Wisconsinite, you know that marks the start of sun, warmth, and joy. So when the rubber meets the road, you better be ready for the changing weather and the adventures that may lie ahead. This is Jim Griffin. Don't worry whether you are a new or existing customer on the north, west, or south side of town. You are as welcome as the flowers in May. We have you covered with the marvelous service specials. We'll change your oil, inspect and rotate your tires, check the battery and air filter, give it a complete multi-point inspection, check your AC or your heat, and even change your wiper blades, all for $129.95. During the month of May, don't let your vehicle's safety and changing weather compromise your adventures. Be ready for the roads. As much confidence and peace of mind as possible when you take advantage of the marvelous service specials good at all 5 Griffin dealerships.
Semper Fi Roofing and Exteriors. CertainTeed Diamond Level Select Shingle Masters. The best of the best. And that's why you can feel confident in choosing us to install your new roof.
We keep you safe, warm, and dry. Semper Fi.
AccuNet Mortgage is an equal housing lender. NMLS ID 255368.
This is Brian Wickert back to report even more home buyers paid over the asking price last month, rising to 50% in the 5-county metro area. 3 out of 10 paid $10,000 or more above that list price. The good news is appraised values are generally keeping up with the over-asking offers. Still, the most powerful thing a buyer can do to make their offer the most attractive in a multiple offer situation is to give the seller some appraisal wiggle room. Telling the seller you're willing to pay over the asking price, even if the house appraises lower, sounds scary because most buyers think they have to fill that potential gap with more down payment. But in the vast majority of cases, AccuNet is showing home buyers how they can offer appraisal wiggle room without bringing a nickel more to closing. Appraisal wiggle room is like a good card trick. You need to see it to believe it. So if you're home shopping with a flimsy, unimaginative bank pre-approval, upgrade today to an AccuNet rock-solid guaranteed pre-approval by clicking on the blue button at AccuNet.com. That's ACCUNET.com.
WTMJ, W277CV, and WKTI HD2 Milwaukee. From the Annex Wealth Management Studios, this is News Radio WTMJ, a Good Karma brand station. Now, more of the Steve Scaffidi Show.
Thank you, Bruce Springsteen. A lot of texts on my... There's something that bugged me. Of all the places that you can wear something that points the finger, criticizes about politics. I didn't think Washington, D.C. was the place. So a lot of texts on it. I'll read a few of those. 414, I find it completely startling that if these school trips, the school would allow these kids to wear those kinds of things. Not appropriate for a school trip at all. I didn't see the teachers getting in the way. They were buying these hats at vendors that were located along the mall area. So there's lots of people selling hats, T-shirts, all that stuff. It's not surprising. This is something that happens in politics now. There's certainly the jab at the other side. I don't find it funny. I don't find it appropriate, but free speech. Apparently the schools have made at least the ones that were there. Now, somebody asked this question. There were, judging by their T-shirts, Christian schools that were allowing kids to wear these and looked like public school kids, so it wasn't one or the other. From the 414, and the parents and teachers who allowed them to wear them, what happened to dress codes? Pretty lax. There wasn't really a dress code that I could tell. Steve from Cudahy. Steve, remember the nut doesn't fall far from the tree. Blame the parents of these kids wearing those inappropriate shirts. I said this to a teammate earlier. I'm guessing that a lot of this stuff just kind of runs. One kid gets one, the next kid gets one. It becomes, copycatism. And I'm sure that in some cases, a child brings one of these things home, and the parent says, "What were you thinking? Why did you spend $25 on that? Get that out of here." So don't assume that it's a endorsement by the parents, because we don't know. Diane, kids do as adults do, and so goes America. Jeff from Fox Point. I was at a concert where a guy in front of me was yelling at, even though the performer wasn't talking about politics, and I thought that annoying. If I had been in your situation this past week, I probably would be very annoyed. It just was a distraction that I didn't appreciate. I appreciate the sanctity of these places, the tradition, the history. For example, in the presidential portrait gallery, there's pictures of George Washington, Abraham Lincoln, every president, and Donald Trump. And there's no one protesting at the Trump picture or vice versa, at the Clinton picture, whatever. There's none of that. It's respect. And I think when we allow this to creep into everyday life, where young children now are carrying the banner of what is just a replacement for an obscenity, let's be honest, when you're talking about Let's Go Branded. Just a replacement for obscenity. Sanctioned by a school when they're saying, "No, we can't do anything," just bothered me. That's all. News is next on WTMJ.
You're listening to the Steve Scaffidi Show on WTMJ.
If you're a motorist of the four-wheel variety, please watch out for those of us in Wisconsin who do their traveling on two wheels. Adjust your mirrors to reduce your blind spots. Allow motorcyclists a full lane width. Use your turn signal when merging or changing lanes. And allow more following distance between you and the motorcycle. Motorists and motorcyclists can work together to achieve zero preventable deaths on Wisconsin roads. Zero in Wisconsin. Together we can save lives. Learn more at zeroinwisconsin.gov.
Sponsored by the Wisconsin DOT. Trust the auto experts at Blaine's Farm and Fleet. You know us for tires and batteries, trust and care, offering unbeatable deals on name brand automotive supplies and service. Like 20% off select floor mats, seat covers, and steering wheel covers. Rewards members buy any two, get a steering wheel cover free. 5-quart jugs of Valvoline synthetic motor oil, just $22.99 after $10 mail-in rebate. And McGuire's car wash, wax, or interior protectant spray is just $9.99.
Find value at Blaine's Farm and Fleet.
What's better than the look and feel of real leather? The amazing prices at Steinhafels.
Don't worry, we have real kings of swing right here.
Swinging a drive to left and deep. Get up! Get out of here! Gone for Joey Weaver. That was contact there.
Our Brewers Royals coverage starts tonight with Brewers warm-up at 6. We are the home of the Brewers. News Radio 620, WTMJ, Milwaukee.
11:01, we have 64 degrees. Scattered showers today with highs ranging from 64 lakeside to 70 inland. From the WTMJ Breaking News Center, I'm Connie Weber. Fallen St. Croix County Deputy Katie Lysing will be laid to rest today. The 12:30 funeral with law enforcement honors will begin in Hudson High School's parking lot. In honor of Lysing, Governor Evers has ordered all flags to be flown at half-staff throughout the day. Police say a man shot her last week while she tried to administer field sobriety tests to him. Lysing was 29 years old. Next week is National Police Week. Bagpipers across the state will pay tribute this weekend to fallen law enforcement officers.
From Coleman to Racine and all parts in between.
Gary Byers of the Greater Milwaukee Fire and Police Pipes and Drums. He's organized this effort across the state, including at least 20 pipers who will play those solemn notes Saturday night.
The piper plays Amazing Grace 3 times, 2 times standing still, and one time as a walk away.
To show we will never forget the fallen. Vince Vitrano, WTMJ News.
A federal judge in Florida temporarily blocking the Biden administration's policy to release some migrants crossing the southern border into the U.S. on parole. It's aimed to alleviate overcrowding at immigration holding facilities. The ruling comes amid a surge of migrants at the border following the end of the pandemic-era rule Title 42, which allowed for the quick expulsion of migrants seeking asylum. The decorated Marine who choked to death a homeless man says he says was threatening other passengers on a New York subway is facing charges.
24-year-old turning himself in at a New York City police station. His attorney Thomas Kenneth.
Shortly after 8 a.m. this morning, Daniel Penny surrendered at the 5th Precinct at the request of the New York County District Attorney's Office.
Penny to face second-degree manslaughter charges in the death of homeless subway passenger Jordan Neely. Neely family attorney Lennon Edwards.
It needs to be made clear that there are consequences when a civilian takes a situation into their own hands and causes a fatality.
Jordan's lawyer saying Penny needs to be in prison. Dave Packer, ABC News.
The Milwaukee IRS Taxpayer Assistance Center is open outside of standard weekday hours today for walk-in services.
Employees at the center today can answer refund questions, handle IRS notices, and more. Wisconsin spokesperson for the IRS, Christopher Miller.
We will see a lot of people at these events who need to verify their identity with the IRS for one reason or another.
Miller recommends bringing a copy of your most recent tax return, 2 forms of ID, and Social Security cards for yourself and any dependents.
This is really an example of how the IRS is working on ways to make it easier for taxpayers to work with us.
Jessica Gatso, WTMJ News.
News is sponsored by Annex Wealth Management's Money Talk, heard Saturdays at 10 right here on WTMJ. Sports, traffic, and weather are next. Siding Unlimited, WTMJ News Time, 11:04.
Listen to The Fix-It Show this Saturday morning in the 7 o'clock hour with special guest Chris Mancuso from Accurate Basement Repair. Chris will discuss and answer questions about basement problems and solutions. Accurate Basement Repair serves all of southeastern Wisconsin with comprehensive, cost-effective basement repairs, including foundation restoration and waterproofing. Check them out online at AccurateBasementRepair.com and listen to The Fix-It Show this Saturday starting at 7 a.m. with Accurate Basement Repair's Chris Mancuso.
It's time to upgrade that old patio furniture with By the Yard maintenance-free outdoor furniture. By the Yard furniture features no painting, no rotting, no splinters, no storage ever. With over 400 items in 9 UV-stabilized colors, By the Yard is proudly made in the Midwest and backed by a 35-year warranty. Explore By the Yard's outdoor furniture collection at their showroom location in Mayfair Mall, Wauwatosa, or visit bytheyard.net. That's bytheyard.net.
In Wisconsin, our festivals and events are in full swing all summer long. Here's to seeing legendary golfers at the U.S. Senior Open Championship in Stevens Point, to joining thousands of your closest music-loving friends at Summerfest in Milwaukee. And to wondering, where art thou, Romeo? At the Wisconsin Shakespeare Festival premiere this summer in Eau Claire. Here's to those who Wisconsin. Find more summer events at travelwisconsin.com.
At Town Bank, they know when you're working toward a financial goal, every little bit counts. That's why when you open a Total Access checking account, you'll get free ATMs nationwide and a $300 bonus with qualifying actives. Plus, you'll get great mobile and online banking tools. So you can have easy access to your money, plus a little extra to start the year off right. Open an account today at townbank.us/TAC. $100 required to open. Requirements to qualify. Must use link to apply. Member FDIC.
Time for a WTMJ Sports Update.
The 2023 Green Bay Packers schedule is official. The Packers will open up at Chicago in Week 1, a 5th straight season opener on the road for the Green and Gold. The home opener will be in Week 3 against the Saints. The Packers will play a total of 6 nationally televised games, including Thanksgiving in Detroit with a Week 6 bye week. The Brewers begin a 3-game series tonight against the Kansas City Royals. Corbin Burns is expected to get the start for the Brew Crew. Our coverage begins right here on WTMJ at 6:35. And lastly, the Milwaukee Admirals are looking to keep their mojo rocking tonight at the UWM Panther Arena as they get set to play host to the Texas Stars in Game 1 of the Central Division Finals. The puck drops at 7 p.m. and Game 2 will also be in Milwaukee on Saturday night. I'm Brandon Snide, WTMJ Sports.
Taking a look at your roads with your Johnson & Sons Paving Time Saver traffic. Looking good on this Friday morning. 94 inbound from Highway 16 to the Zoo, about an 11-minute drive. The Zoo to downtown take you about 6. 41 northbound from the Zoo to Highway Q, a 14-minute commute. 43 inbound from Brown Deer Road to the Marquette Interchange, running about 10 minutes. And 94 from Layton Avenue to the Marquette Interchange, about 6 minutes this morning.
Traffic is sponsored by TaybackAttorneys.com. Hurt at work? Call Tayback for the payback. An injury at work may leave you eligible for compensation benefits, including lost wages, coverage of medical bills, or a cash settlement. Call Tayback for the payback. TaybackAttorneys.com.
Your WTMJ 5-day forecast. We have scattered showers today, highs ranging from 64 lakeside to 70 inland. Isolated showers tonight with a low 51. Isolated showers tomorrow, breezy, highs ranging from 64 to 73. Scattered showers again on Sunday, maybe even thunderstorms, a high Sunday 58. Mostly sunny on Monday, high 68 to 72. Mostly sunny Tuesday with a chance of showers later on, highs ranging from 68 lakeside to 75 inland. Right now in Madison, 62, Green Bay 67, Milwaukee 64 degrees. I'm Connie Weber. Siding Unlimited, WTMJ News Time, 11:08.
Breaking down the biggest stories, talking about what really matters, and bringing you the biggest forum to let your voice be heard. Now, broadcasting live from the Annex Wealth Management Studios at the Avenue, here's Steve Scaffidi.
Welcome. 11 o'clock hour on WTMJ from our beautiful Avenue Studios in downtown Milwaukee. So I've been talking about my trip. We played some of the audio from our interviews with Congressman Stile and Grothman earlier, and I highlighted, and it was the highlight of the trip for me because we had a great access to George Washington's estate at Mount Vernon. And thanks to loyal listeners, fans of WTMJ and my show, Lynn and Scott, who not only helped arrange this, but met us out there and had a nice conversation, couple of nice conversations, because we ran into him at a street patio, kind of waiting for our dinner a little bit later in the afternoon. So thanks to those folks, Lynn and Scott. They were tremendous and amazing, which is not surprising because they've been great fans of the show. And so I wanted to bring some of that back. I have said this over and over again. Mount Vernon is an incredible place, the home of George and Martha Washington. And it looks essentially the same as it did back then. Incredible renovation and restoration with the same methods used at the time of the first president. So I wanted to bring some of that back. And I found two great interviews while I was there. And I said, let's bring them to the show. First up is going to be Matt Briney. He's the vice president and media and communications here. And listen to some of the detail here. The cool thing is, in this interview, there's a tip for teachers that we are going to give you an easy way to access that information. And I'll give it to you right now if you want to just quickly text it. Text the word TEACH, T-E-A-C-H, to 855-616-1620. I will give you that information at the end, again, of the interview. It is a great way for local teachers in Wisconsin to take advantage of a great program that brings you up close and personal to Mount Vernon. Let's hear some of that interview from Mount Vernon. Welcome to Matt Briney, Vice President, Media and Communications for George Washington, Mount Vernon. First of all, I've been here before, Matt, but it is a place that I love visiting. And as the Vice President of Media and Communications, I imagine you get a lot of questions about Mount Vernon. I'll tell you what I like, and then you tell me what I'm missing. It is obviously historic. It's scenic. It's a place that I always say when I come out here, it's calm and peaceful. And beyond the history, what else is Mount Vernon about?
Well, Mount Vernon really is George Washington's autobiography. I mean, I think a lot of people know George Washington as the man on the dollar bill or a marble statue in some government building somewhere. But, you know, a lot of people don't know things about him, that he was the greatest horseman of his age, that he was an excellent dancer, that he was a fantastic businessman here at Mount Vernon. And this is a place where you kind of really get to know more about who George Washington is. It allows you, I think, to relate a little bit more to him, because we know him today as so many of these impressive things, that he was first president. He was the commander-in-chief of the Continental Army. He defeated the British at the time, the largest army in the entire world, right? And it's all these great feats that make it very difficult for, I think, the average person, the average school children to understand, how can I ever live up to what George Washington is? But really, George Washington would like you to have those same civic responsibilities. So this is a great place to learn more about him.
Yeah, and as you come out here, each visit, you realize it sort of looks exactly like it looked when he lived here, which is a kind of a rare thing nowadays.
That is our aim. So it is designed to look exactly as it did upon his death in 1799. And you would think that would be consistent. We've known that for 50-some years, but actually it's an ongoing process that we do. We've got our curatorial team is always discovering new research. They're always learning new things, and the mansion has changed over time. If you came in the 1950s, it's a very different place than it is today.
And it does evolve, but they at least it's getting the sense talking to the guys, they try to match what it was all the way back then.
That's exactly right. So it's not to say that the people who were interpreting it previously weren't interpreting to the highest standards. It's just that we have such a scientific and academic research, especially with the addition of the George Washington Presidential Library across the street, that we just know more about the man and the estate.
We're talking to Matt Briney, Vice President, Media and Communications for George Washington's Mount Vernon. Give me some of the nuts and bolts, like how many people come and visit daily, yearly, some of the special events you do out here?
Yeah, so this is a very active place. We're open 365 days a year.
Which surprised me. There's no off days.
No off days, it's great. Because it's a time, even during the holidays, we have staff and employees that don't have families that they can go to, and they're welcoming people here, and people around the area can enjoy a respite from their families in a scenic place like Mount Vernon. But we welcome yearly, in a normal year, about 1 million guests, and that's been consistent really for the past century.
Minus the pandemic.
Minus World War II, these kind of big key events in our history. And that is generally a large springtime visitation, some summer visitation, and then a little bit quieter in fall and winter.
Yeah, I saw today there's, thousands of kids out here on their probably end of the year field trips.
They are all doing their great DC field trip, and spending time in the nation's capital, and we're lucky that they continue to just come here at Mount Vernon.
So one of the treats that I got to do this time, because I've been here with, I was a former mayor, I was out here with mayor's groups, I got to go in the basements of the mansion, which I never expected. Made famous by, I think, Nicolas Cage.
National Treasure too.
Yeah,
yes.
And it kind of looked like that. There's the guy was telling me there's some slight variations, but that's a part that surprised me. There is a basement to that building.
There is, yeah. So Washington is storing his Madeira and other goods in the basement. It's cool. It's it's a great place to store things, and we're learning more things about that space. We think that actually it may have been occupied at one point by the enslaved people that worked in the mansion as well. And so as we are doing our work in the next few years to discover more about that, you may see the interpretation change.
How many people are involved in maintaining it? Volunteers, paid workers, full-time, part-time? What are some of their jobs besides the guides?
Yeah, it's a large staff here. So we've got about 425 employees full-time, over 600 volunteers. It ranges from everything from blacksmith to gardener to researcher at the Washington Library to we put on a leadership institute. We have education and teacher outreach initiatives. We've got marketing and all sorts of social media aspects as well.
Now, I'm married to a teacher, and I heard that from our guy that there was these teacher opportunities.
Oh my gosh, yes.
So I think, if I heard correctly, you actually will send out some of your experts to schools across the country. Can you just walk through that? Because I have a lot of teachers that listen to my program.
Yeah, our Teacher Institute, George Washington Teacher Institute, if you haven't heard about this, please check it out. It's now in its 27th year, and this is a program that traditionally brings teachers on site for a week-long programs several times a year, where they can deep dive with Mount Vernon staff with experts in the field and kind of learn about how to best teach an area field in George Washington's time frame. The pandemic has allowed us to explore this in all sorts of new ways. So when we were shut down for 95 days or whatever, we
in 2020 shut down for 3 months.
Yeah, we turned into a broadcast system, and with that we learned that we could do a lot of distance learning. We now do distance learning programs that are virtual, as well as ones that are where we fly into a state and train teachers there.
How would teachers find out about it?
They're going to want to go to mountvernon.org and go under the education tab that we have at the top of our website.
So give me a very well-known fact about Mount Vernon, and one that not many people know.
A very well-known fact about Mount Vernon. Probably maybe the well-known fact about Mount Vernon is, it was originally just a 4-room house, and then it gets expanded over George Washington's lifetime. So this is an estate that is always active in his mind. It is something that he's constantly writing back and forth with his farm managers, with his overseers during the war, and making meticulous notes about how the house gets expanded. A little known fact, we have on the grounds here a greenhouse. So George Washington was often gifted seeds by foreign dignitaries, some that required tropical environments, and so he asked to have a greenhouse built. That structure actually burned down later, and after his death and during the time of the Mount Vernon Lays Association, early days of the Mount Vernon Lays Association, caught fire. We had all the fire insurance records for it, so we've been able to reconstruct it to exactly the way it is. But at the time, we were looking for 18th century bricks, and lo and behold, there was another preservation renovation work going on just a few miles down the river, this place called the White House. And so
those bricks are here?
Some of the bricks that you see in the greenhouse today are
that is
from
a little
the
known
original
fact.
White House.
I learned a couple things today. One, that his gravesite was moved.
Yes.
Because they took us to the obviously the crypt, but also the old site, which was kind of along the bluff to the Potomac River. And the other one is they had like an ice, for lack of a better term, a hole, where they dug ice out of the Potomac River and buried it, and it lasted as long as it would throughout the spring and summer.
There is records of George Washington serving ice cream in July. So if you can imagine ice staying that good for that long.
The other thing that surprised me, there's 10 bedrooms now in the fully expanded home. And they're actually pretty decent size. I've been in homes that are a lot younger that have smaller bedrooms than that. My dad grew up in the 1930s and 40s, and his bedrooms were smaller than that. So he was a man who was a visionary in almost everything he touched, farming, and certainly in his military capacity and in his estates. But he also loved small little things and just little attention to detail. I found out he was the head of the patents office for a while. So that's another little known thing about George Washington. He took some of those ideas and kind of tweaked them.
Oh my gosh, yeah, there's a great story about this. So, during the early days of the nation, each patent had to be signed by the President of the United States, the Secretary of State, and the Secretary of Treasury. So just so you all know, everybody knows, that's Thomas Jefferson, Alexander Hamilton, and George Washington.
If you're holding on to one of those things, that's quite a record.
It really is. So there is a patent that comes across George Washington's desk, and it is for the Oliver Evans automated gristmill system. And this basically is a patent for a mechanical invention that allows essentially 2 people to operate an entire milling process. And George Washington sees this, he signs the patent, and he immediately writes to his farm manager and says, "Please get Mr. Oliver Evans to Mount Vernon. I would like to have one of these." And today you can go to our distillery and gristmill site, and we not only have the building constructed, but it is operational today. So you can actually, and we are like one of 9 of these in the world.
Matt, I want to thank you. He's Vice President, Media and Communications for George Washington Mount Vernon. If you've never been here, I think this is my 5th or 6th visit. It is breathtaking, spectacular, historic. I'm here on a beautiful, sunny, warm day in May, and it's. I always learn something new. So thanks for helping tell the story of Mount Vernon. I encourage people, listeners, as well as folks who are just fans of history, this is one of those must-see places in the United States. Thank you, Matt.
Steve, thanks for having us.
Matt Briney, he is the Vice President of Media and Communications for Mount Vernon. That's just part one. There's a part two. You're going to learn a lot more about George Washington. In that interview, you heard the piece about the Teachers Institute, George Washington's Teacher Institute. You want to be a popular teacher, well, they will help you do that, and you can also educate and teach your kids about the great, incredible history of Mount Vernon and our first presidents. Just text the word TEACH, T-E-A-C-H, to 855-616-1620. You'll find out all about that program and how you can bring those experts right here to Wisconsin, actually any states, to teach the wisdom and the history of George Washington. Quick break.
This is the Steve Scaffidi Show on WTMJ.
Are you ready to step up to the plate and test your skills?
Hey, bada, 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 swing, bada.
Join Steve every Friday at 10:35 for a rousing round of virtual baseball to win awesome prizes.
Oh, baby.
Steve Scaffidi's Virtual Baseball, presented by Siding Unlimited.
This is what's great about sports. This is what the greatest thing about sports is. You play to win the game.
Every Friday at 10:35.
Hey, this is WTMJ Steve Scaffidi for Advent. I've told you about the snoring issues, the tossing and turning, restless nights of sleep. Nobody wants that. Trust me, and you don't want to be a tired, grouchy guy on the radio. That doesn't work. To put it simply, my nose wasn't working the way it should. I went to Advent. They're great facilities, quick 30-minute visit. I found out they could help me. We did a quick sleep study at home in my own bed, determined the root cause of my problem to my sinuses and nasal passages in my breathing triangle. After a short procedure in office, breathing as well as I ever have, sleeping through the whole night again last night, well rested, which makes me fun on the radio. And if you want to see what I'm talking about, you want to find out how breathing well and sleeping well can make your nights better, go to adventknows.com, schedule an appointment today, because Advent knows when you breathe well, you live better.
What if you could build a six-figure retirement income with almost half the money saved? You heard that right. Get a discount on your retirement, creating a six-figure income with 40% less than traditional 401ks and mutual funds. Hi, I'm Mitch Lyons, best-selling author and executive producer of a new Hollywood documentary called The Baby Boomer Dilemma. In this film, economists and Nobel Prize-winning PhDs from Wharton, MIT, and Stanford share a strange concept I call the retirement discount. It gives you more retirement income with the same dollar saved, and your money is never at risk if the market crashes. That's right. If the market crashes 30%, you lose nothing. Even people who are on track have shifted money to this new strategy because it increases their retirement income or can allow them to stop working years sooner. So if you are over 50 and want a bigger, better retirement with less money, call to get a free copy of this brand new movie, 1-800-578-3535. This is a $30 value, but when you call today, you get it completely free, plus 2 hours of bonus behind-the-scenes footage. No credit card required. Call right now. 1-800-578-3535. That's 1-800-578-3535. Again, 1-800-578-3535.
Now, more of the Steve Scaffidi Show on WTMJ.
Thanks for joining us on this Friday. As I said, we were talking about my trip to Washington, D.C. And I've said this over the time that I've been on the air at WTMJ. Mount Vernon, the estates, the mansion, some of the outbuildings, the history, is one of my favorite places on this planet. And I'm pretty well-traveled, been around the world, seen some really great things in Europe and other places. There's something about that history tied to our nation and the power of that story. And why I love telling the story of George Washington, and we'll get more detail from Jeremy Ray, who's the director of the interpretation of Mount Vernon, essentially historian, and some really great details about the person, what he was like, his demeanor. But it's this unbelievable location where you can see history almost as it happened. House, other than some minor renovations, looks the same. Grounds look the same. Many of the historic farming techniques. He mentioned, Matt did, the grist mill and distillery. We got a chance to see that in action. And it's one of, I think, 9, they said, in the world with that old-fashioned technology that works just fine, in that case, to produce some outstanding whiskey, which I tasted while I was there. And I was thinking about this last night. There are a lot of places you can visit in this country. And to be honest, Washington, D.C. is not the cheapest place to visit, but you can certainly go on class trips, and there was a lot of that going on as we were out there. But it's a place where I think we could possibly understand a lot more about what this country really stands for instead of what we accept as reality now. And that's one of the things I wanted to do with the show today. So I started talking about politics with Bill and Joe, current, modern politics, what ails us, what's not working. We went to the conversations with the congressman, one of them my congressman, Brian Style, who represents the 1st Congressional District in Wisconsin, where I live, to hear what's on their mind in their offices. We'll take a break here, and then we're going to continue that conversation after the news. The news will be coming up after this break on WTMJ.
The Brewers Radio Network's Lane Grindle sees it all from the broadcast booth.
Down the right field line. This is up, and it is going to fly out of here.
But what's he like off the air?
It's 2023. It's the year of the cheesehead.
Lane Grindle joins Wisconsin's afternoon news every Monday during the Brewers' 2023 campaign.
There'd be nothing better in my life than to be the brother of Lane Grindle.
I did not have a brother, so, John, we can make honorary brothers.
Right here on the home of the Brewers, WTMJ.
Hey, Eric Bilstead with WTMJ's Wisconsin's Morning News for J.D. Griffiths. For more than 70 years, J.D. Griffiths has been Milwaukee's premier provider and builder of garage doors. And my wife and I are now proud owners of 2 new garage doors installed by J.D. Griffiths' crew. They came in a couple of weeks ago and did it in a half a day. I could not tell you how easy it was. We first went to jdgriffiths.com. We set ourselves up for a free at-home estimate. Ken came over, took a look around, gave us some ideas, and off we were. It just took a couple of weeks to get it installed, and we could not be happier. It pops. I'm telling you, the neighbors notice. I hear about them all the time. It makes our house look so much sharper with those brand new garage doors from J.D. Griffiths. So go to jdgriffiths.com, set yourselves up for a free at-home estimate, and J.D. Griffiths doesn't just do new garage doors. They also offer affordable servicing of existing garage doors and also even build new detached garage doors as well. J.D. Griffiths and jdgriffiths.com.
Accunet Mortgage is an equal housing lender. NMLS ID 255368.
This is Chief Differentiation Officer Brian Wickert reminding home shoppers that working with Accunet is different and better than working with your bank. Most bank pre-approvals state they've only verified the potential home buyer's credit, but not their income or money for down payment. To us, that's just crazy. Accunet's rock-solid guaranteed pre-approval tells the seller we've checked out all 3 aspects of your financial health, and that we'll pay $2,000 if our pre-approval is faulty. Banks don't do that, but they do have a lot of overhead with all their vice presidents and fancy branches. We keep overhead low, which means lower rates and closing costs that are typically $1,000 to $3,000 lower than banks. Most importantly, our loan consultants can show you and your agent how to improve your financing and appraisal contingencies so your offer has the best chance of winning in a multiple offer situation. Hey, don't settle for a flimsy, unimaginative bank pre-approval. Click on the blue button today for your rock-solid guaranteed pre-approval. That's ACCUNET.com.
Now, more of the Steve Scaffidi Show on WTMJ.
Don't forget, if you're a teacher or a school district, you want to find out more about George Washington and Mount Vernon, just text the word TEACH, T-E-A-C-H. Good thing I paid attention in spelling class. To 855-616-1620, and you'll get all the information you need, including resources available to be sent to your home states to learn about our first president and where he lived. All right, news time, 11:31 from our Breaking News Center, Connie Weber.
Thanks, Steve. About 10,000 Southwest Airlines pilots are prepared to go on strike. The airline assuring travelers the vote to strike will not affect its operations and said they are staffed and prepared to welcome travelers for the summer. Former Packer and Hall of Famer Brett Favre has withdrawn his lawsuit filed earlier this year against sports commentator and former NFL punter Pat McAfee. Favre had alleged McAfee defamed him on his podcast when he called the former QB a thief who was stealing from poor people in Mississippi. Mississippi suing Favre and others as part of a massive civil civil suit seeking to recoup millions in misspent welfare funds. ESPN reports Tom Brady's in talks to become a limited partner of the Las Vegas Raiders. ESPN adds it's believed any investment in the Raiders would not affect Brady's deal to become Fox's lead NFL analyst. More than 30 million birds, orioles, hummingbirds, warblers, and other flycatchers expected to land somewhere in Wisconsin today. Experts tell the Milwaukee Journal-Sentinel the unpredictable weather conditions during the migration season have created an unprecedented peak this year. The weather could cause them to stay grounded longer than usual. Time for news about your money and the WTMJ Annex Wealth Management Market Update. Markets are down. The Dow is down 132 points, the S&P 500 off 21, and the Nasdaq is down 84. Get on track with investment and retirement planning. Visit annexwealth.com and click the Get Started button today. Taking a look at your roads with your Johnson & Sons Paving Time Saver traffic, still looking good. 94 inbound from Highway 16 to the Zoo, about an 11-minute drive. The Zoo to downtown running about 6. 4145 southbound from Highway Q to the Zoo interchange, 13. Take you 11 minutes to get from Brown Deer Road to the Marquette interchange on 43. And 94 inbound from Layton Avenue to the Marquette interchange, running about 6 minutes this morning.
Traffic is sponsored by the Heiser Automotive Group. Come in and make that deal. Visit Heiser Automotive Group with 4 convenient locations or online at heiser.com. Ford, Chevy, Toyota, Lincoln, and Cadillac. Today's your day.
Your WTMJ 5-day forecast. We've got scattered showers in the forecast pretty much for the next 5 days. Today's high 64, lakeside 70 inland. Isolated showers tonight, low 51. Isolated showers tomorrow, highs ranging from 64 to 73. Scattered showers, maybe even a thunderstorm on Sunday with a high 58. Clearing up Monday, mostly sunny with a high 68, lakeside 72 inland. And then mostly sunny Tuesday, but then a chance of showers later on, highs ranging from 68 to 75. Right now in Appleton, 66, Milwaukee, 64. I'm Connie Weber, Siding Unlimited, WTMJ News Time, 11:34.
Coming up after the break, we'll learn about the person, George Washington, from Jeremy Ray, Senior Director of Interpretation at Mount Vernon. That's all coming up next on WTMJ.
It's time for you and that diamond to come alive again.
At the second annual Spring Ring Cleaning at Kessler's.
Even if you have a good ultrasonic jewelry cleaner,
it can't match the pressurized steam cleaning we do at Kessler's.
Let us steam clean and polish your engagement ring.
For free.
I'm Joe Gerke, president of Kessler's, and we want to strip away all the soap scum that is making your diamond look dull.
For free. And while we're doing it, we'll inspect the prongs on your ring to make sure your diamond isn't about to fall out.
It's the second annual Spring Ring Cleaning at Kessler's.
Here's another idea. Bring us anything you own that needs to be repaired.
And we'll give you a price to make it like new again.
And if you have some old jewelry you don't wear anymore,
we can make something unique and wonderful out of it.
Unique in all the world.
Welcome to Kessler's.
To find the Kessler's nearest you, visit Kessler'sDiamonds.com.
Doesn't it seem like you never have anything to wear? That's why I shop St. Vincent de Paul thrift stores. Whether it's a designer top, jeans, an adorable skirt, or cute accessories, I always seem to find something I like. And at prices I love. Gently used women's clothing and accessories for far less than you thought possible. At St. Vincent de Paul thrift stores on Highway 100 in Layton and Greenfield and 23rd in Lincoln in Milwaukee.
You're gonna love it, St. Vincent de Paul.
WTMJ's Vince Vitrano here. When a company needs to downsize, 2 things are essential: managing the employees affected and making sure your company's reputation stays intact. LAK Group profoundly understands this, having assisted companies across the Midwest with outplacement. LAK acts as your partner, giving employees guidance and ensuring companies get through it smoothly. If you need outplacement services, LAK can help. Learn more at transformingcareers.com. LAK Group. Discover your human advantage.
Now, more of the Steve Scaffidi Show on WTMJ.
Continue our conversation on Mount Vernon, my visit to the estate of our first president, George Washington. I had a couple interviews, and I talked with Jeremy Ray, Senior Director of Interpretation. And you'll hear it. He'll fill you in on a lot of things you didn't know about George Washington, what the man was like, and what some of the things he loved to do. But if you're a teacher out there, and I wanted to highlight this, and I brought this back with me, just text the word TEACH, T-E-A-C-H, to 855-616-1620. Some great resources to educate your students about our first president and the historic setting of Mount Vernon. So TEACH 855-616-1620. Here's my interview with Jeremy Ray. I've been here for a few hours today, and this place always blows me away. What's it like to work here?
It's really incredible. I got to tell you that I think that is evident in the number of people who have worked here for many, many years. I personally have worked at Mount Vernon for 16 years, and I'm nowhere near the most senior person here on staff. It's just beautiful to take in the history. You get lost in the feeling and the emotion. And for me, a person who talks with the public, it is just awesome to engage with over 1 million people a year who just want to learn about George Washington.
And I was here this morning with a lot of large groups of kids going on their class field trip. That's a pretty common thing out here.
Yeah, I would say close to half of our visitation is student groups, and that is very exciting because they have such wide interests that you can really get into some fun conversations.
So a lot of people know a little bit about George Washington. First president, famous general, never lived in the White House, apparently. We know he's a farmer. We've learned a lot through our various classes, whether that's elementary all the way up through college. You know the history well. What's something about George Washington that may surprise us?
Yeah, I think the main things, general, president, everyone knows that. But not a lot of people know just how much of a community leader he was. The reason why people kept giving him these big positions of authority and power is because they trusted him. One, they knew that he was a man who would listen to all sorts of inputs from various people and then try to make the best decision that worked for everyone. He was all about finding consensus and compromise. And then as well, just how important Washington was as a business leader, a civic leader, a man who was trying to push forward this idea of America. You had so many different disparate groups from various colonies and states that were looking out for their own self-interest. Washington, from the very beginning, from his time before the war, during the war, after the war, presidency, was always trying to find a way to make America itself a stronger and a better place.
Through historical records, interactions of other people that wrote things down, do we know what kind of demeanor he had, how he was with other people? Was he a hothead? Was he pretty calming? What was he like?
I would say probably even is the best way to describe Washington. In his time as the House of Burgesses, which is the Virginia governing body during the colonial period, Washington was involved with that for many, many years, and several people would state, he was not the guy who was going to stand up and orate for hours and hours. He was the guy who would get assigned a committee, he would go, he would sit, and he would listen. He wouldn't say much. He was listening to what everyone had to say, and then all of a sudden he'd come out with something profound that everyone would go, yeah, I like his idea. We need to move it that way. Again, he would take everything in, listen, think about it, and try to find that consensus. Personal friends said he had a good sense of humor, but he had kind of this public and private persona. In the public, he was very much an even-keeled, listening kind of person, and at home, those who knew him said he was a fun guy to be around. Measured
by formal education, his peers were well above him, but he was a smart guy because he read a lot.
Yeah, I think there was definitely a practical level to Washington's knowledge. His formalized education is kind of on level with the equivalency of about a 6th, 7th grade education.
Which is amazing to me.
Right, and he was always aware of that. He even writes once that he was quite aware of his, quote, defective education. And I think that was one of the aspects that made Washington into such a good leader, is that he, being self-aware, understood that there were others who had areas of expertise that he did not, based off that education. So he was more than happy to put men in positions like Alexander Hamilton and Thomas Jefferson or Nathaniel Greene or so forth, and whether war or politics, take in their advice and again seek that middle ground.
Do we know what his life was like when he stepped away from the public eye and spent however many years here at Mount Vernon, what he was doing? I imagine farming was a part of that.
Oh yeah, absolutely. Well, first and foremost, he never was able to step out of the public eye. The first year after the presidency, there were 677 overnight stays here at Mount Vernon.
Wow.
So people were just constantly coming to visit because they, it's an age before television. You can't just see the president on TV.
Was that dignitaries, just other politicians?
It was everybody. It was dignitaries. It was future kings of Europe. It was current presidents, future presidents. It was, Joe, Bob, and Mary Sue from down the street who were traveling and just needed a place to stay.
Wow.
Right? But Washington, when he retires from the presidency, is simultaneously increasing business ventures while trying to back down. He's opening up a distillery, making him one of the largest whiskey distillers in the U.S. upon the advice of his hired Scottish farm manager. But he's also experimenting widely with his farms in this system called new husbandry, right? Trying to use the most efficient farming techniques. And what's amazing about this is he writes to his farm manager, he says, I expect to not make a profit for several years. But he's doing this intentionally because he knows he has the ability and the capacity to experiment because he's looking for better ways to share these methods with American farmers to make the American agriculture much stronger and more firm setting going forward.
We're talking to Jeremy Ray, Senior Director of Interpretation for George Washington's Mount Vernon. We are out at the estate today. It's absolutely spectacular. If you get a chance, this is one of those vacation spots you absolutely must visit. I've never read a lot about this, but his family history, his father, his mother, what was their history?
Yeah, so Washington's mother was actually the second marriage to his father. His father, Augustine, Washington's first wife, passed away, leaving George Washington with a couple of older half-brothers. But Mary Ball Washington, she was a local around the Fredericksburg area, kind of Westmoreland County. His father was a farmer. His father was involved in the House of Burgesses, other local government. He owned multiple properties in Virginia. What would become Mount Vernon, Pope's Creek Plantation, where George Washington was born, and a small farm across the river from Fredericksburg called Ferry Farm. And it was actually close to this iron furnace job that he had, which George Washington's father had really no interest in farming. He really wanted to do these iron furnaces. So this small property that George Washington grew up on outside of Fredericksburg was kind of the commuting home for him. Unfortunately, his father dies when George Washington's only 11. So a lot of his income prospects with those larger producing farms, those went off to his older brothers. He and his mother got Ferry Farm. So George Washington, as a young boy, kind of sees a lot of his future prospects dwindling. So he really works very hard. Despite that lack of a formal education, he really buckles down with math, with the sciences, and becomes a surveyor as a teenager, which was a very lucrative job that enabled him to build his estate and purchase land out west to build up his farming prospects. Eventually, his older half-brother, Lawrence, passes away, and he inherits what becomes Mount Vernon, and that gets him set on the future of farming that we know him for.
Incredible wisdom. What a great job you have. You get to celebrate somebody whose life you've got to study and talk about, and on the very place that he walked. That's the other cool thing. You're walking on paths in the building of the steps of George Washington, our first president. Thanks so much. Jeremy Ray, Senior Director of Interpretation for George Washington's Mount Vernon. Absolute pleasure.
Yeah, thank you very much.
I love doing those interviews, and I was just texting back with some of the folks there, and I'm still learning about it. And there's a couple great things. One is the history is amazing, and the grounds and the building. You have to go visit, and you can just go to mountvernon.org and find out all the details about that. But if you're a teacher, or you know a teacher, because let's be honest, teachers are hard working, probably many of them are working today, pass on the link, and you can just text the word TEACH, TEACH, to 855-616-1620. All kinds of great educational opportunities. As you know, I'm a big fan of George Washington, my favorite president. And every time I go, I learn something new. And re-listening to those interviews, I learn more stuff because I'm doing the interview. I'm thinking about my next question. I missed some of the cool stuff that was in there. So thanks to Matt Briney and Jeremy Ray, two of, hundreds of great employees at Mount Vernon. It is a must-see place if you're visiting Washington, D.C., that area, East Coast United States. Please go and see it. It will put a remarkable historic perspective on politics that maybe, just maybe, can refresh your opinion and your level of optimism about where we've been and where we go. Quick break.
This is the Steve Scaffidi Show on WTMJ.
It's WTMJ's Vince Vitrano here for Sister Bay Furniture. Wisconsin weather can be tough on all of us. A snowy gray morning can quickly evolve into a bright, warm afternoon, inviting you to fire up the grill and enjoy some quality outdoor time. Sister Bay Furniture is premium, high-quality outdoor furniture, built in Wisconsin, built for Wisconsin. Built from premium and sustainable materials, Sister Bay designs and builds patio furniture to survive years of Wisconsin weather. That's commercial-grade quality for your outdoor space. Customize your Sister Bay set. Pick from several different styles and colors to fit your unique outdoor space. Need professional help? Sister Bay Furniture offers a team of in-house design experts. They can help you plan and create the outdoor space of your dreams. Don't wait until the next beautiful day this year. Get out to their showroom today. It's located in Sussex on Executive Drive, or visit their website, sisterbayfurniture.com, to shop the entire selection. Sister Bay Furniture, built in Wisconsin for Wisconsin.
There are few things in life that people get as emotional over than their finances, and that can be very dangerous when it comes to your investments. This is Jill Schlesinger, business analyst. Did you know investors lose money every year because they trade on emotions, headlines, and hearsay instead of data? But there's a solution. StockCharts.com. StockCharts.com has been the leading online charting tool that experts and disciplined traders have used for over 20 years. By utilizing the most advanced online charts, they're able to view and understand market history and investor sentiment by using technical analysis to manage their risk and find opportunities. You can do the same. Go to StockCharts.com for a free 30-day trial. Pick the stocks and indexes you want to track, review historical data, spot the trends, then make informed decisions and invest with confidence. You'll also have access to a knowledge bank from leading global analysts on how to interpret an ever-changing market. Better insights for smarter investing. Go to StockCharts.com and start your free 30-day trial today.
There are over 10,000 reasons why steel is not sold at Lowe's or the Home Depot. There are over 10,000 authorized local steel dealers. Find yours at steelusa.com. Lowe's and the Home Depot are trademarks of their respective companies.
Alleviate your pain, rejuvenate your life.
Rejuvenex.com. What if you could build a six-figure retirement income with almost half the money saved? You heard that right. Get a discount on your retirement, creating a six-figure income with 40% less than traditional 401ks and mutual funds. Hi, I'm Mitch Lyons, best-selling author and executive producer of a new Hollywood documentary called The Baby Boomer Dilemma. In this film, economists and Nobel Prize-winning PhDs from Wharton, MIT, and Stanford share a strange concept I call the retirement discount. It gives you more retirement income with the same dollar saved, and your money is never at risk if the market crashes. That's right. If the market crashes 30%, you lose nothing. Even people who are on track have shifted money to this new strategy because it increases their retirement income or can allow them to stop working years sooner. So if you are over 50 and want a bigger, better retirement with less money, call to get a free copy of this brand new movie, 1-800-578-3535. This is a $30 value, but when you call today, you get it completely free, plus 2 hours of bonus behind-the-scenes footage. No credit card required. Call right now. 1-800-578-3535. That's 1-800-578-3535. Again, 1-800-578-3535.
Now, more of the Steve Scaffidi Show on WTMJ.
One more time, because people are asking for it. If you text the word TEACH, T-E-A-C-H, to 855-616-1620. It's the Old National Bank talk and text line. We'll send you a link to get all the information. If you know a teacher, maybe she's working, maybe he's working today, history or otherwise, just send that information to them, and trust me, it'll be worth it. A lot of resources available, educational opportunities, but as I said before, just learning about the history of our country in a different way. And I said this over and over again, because could you tell I'm a fan of George Washington and Mount Vernon? Yes, I am. And thanks to all the great folks out there who helped us. It was a trip of a lifetime. And everybody who was involved just made it so comfortable and easy to experience what I think everybody should experience as the sites of our first president's home. And thanks to Gail Cassidy as well. She was our tour guide on our tour of Mount Vernon. If you want more information just about the tour, my thoughts, my suggestions, I'll even do this. You can either direct message me at WTMJ Steve on Twitter or send me an email at steve.scaffidi, 2Fs1D, @WTMJ.com. I'll send you my thoughts. I've been there, I think, 6 times now, and I learn something every time. All right, another thing that we do every week, every Friday on WTMJ is the Week in Review. Today is no different. Bringing home some hardware, a crazy little thing called Jordan Love, a crisis at the nation's southern border, and more. It's the Weekend Review, brought to you by Outdoor Living Unlimited.
What we do here is go back.
News Operation of the Year, Large Market Radio, News and Talk, goes to WTMJ AM.
Can't tell you how awesome it is to see so much great audio being told, storytelling. Audio is my thing. You TV people are okay, but the audio stuff is pretty remarkable.
Station of the Year, Large Market Radio, News and Talk, goes to WTMJ AM.
On behalf of the station and Good Karma Brands, I just want to say thank you to everyone for their hard work. And I guess we'll go to the bar too after this.
Bar joke.
Yeah, bar joke. We'll see the bartender after this as well.
Tragedy in northwest Wisconsin. A sheriff's deputy in St. Croix County shot and killed over the weekend.
The Wisconsin Department of Justice says Deputy Katie Leising was responding to a call of a suspected drunk driver in a ditch Saturday evening in the township of Glenwood.
Saturday night when I got the call, it was the worst call any law enforcement professional or a family member wants to get.
We've seen a serious willingness to resist officers and assault officers in particular.
Wisconsin is facing a major staffing shortage in law enforcement, with the fewest officers employed since 2008.
They're just trying to do their job. They just want to get through their shift, do the best possible work they can, and then go home to their families at the end of that shift.
A Janesville High School coach is in jail after a recording device was found inside a girls' locker room.
He admitted he placed this GoPro, told us it's been going on for 2 years, and that by his estimation, 18 other persons were victims.
A jury in New York has found former President Donald Trump liable for battery and defamation in the E. Jean Carroll case.
Having prepared hundreds of witnesses for depositions and having watched Donald Trump for a while, I think he's probably the least coachable person on the planet.
Jordan Love.
I say all the time, control what I can control, and all I can control at that situation is how I approach every day, how I learn, how I grow, and how I get myself ready if my name's called.
It's my quarterback.
Is Dexter Jetster a Star Wars character, or is Dexter Jetster a Major League ball player?
I say ball player.
I'm going Star Wars.
The correct answer is yes, Star Wars.
I should think that you Jedi would have more respect for the difference between knowledge and wisdom.
I am pleased to report that with no settlement paid, Brett is withdrawing his suit against me.
Thank God for that!
The 8-year-old boy from Hurley, Wisconsin, who spent 2 days alone in the woods in the Upper Peninsula, is now sharing and talking about his ordeal.
A massive search kicking off for Nancy, who ate snow, covered himself with leaves, and tried to stay positive.
I heard people yelling my name, and I saw a lime green thing hanging, and then I saw somebody.
Rescuers finding him in good health.
Good job, guys. The Trump-era policy known as Title 42, which prevents asylum